Welcome. How are things?
You know, I think I've been having what's called a pebcac error. It's a problem exists between keyboard and chair. You see, that's technology sometimes gets the best of those of us trying to utilize it as a communication tool. And boy,
have you tried the RTFM solution?
No. How dare you? I just hit it with a hammer until it starts to work. Anyway, man, it's good to talk to you.
America.
How's living? How's the Reds?
Man, do you know how the Reds are? Or are you just making small talk? Like, is that question coming from somewhere or no?
I do not know how the Reds are. I have tuned out of Major League Baseball for because I'm going to tell you 10 years, but I still want to check in. I still want to see what's going on with the Mariners from time to time. I still want to watch the Rangers in the standings, see what's going on. I grew up a Braves fan, so and then a diehard Yankees fan later on. So I always just want to touch base every couple of years. Tell me how the Reds are, because on your stories, it's just hard fanning right now, and I'm kind of loving it. You made me remember baseball this year. Thank you.
The Reds made me remember baseball this year. I mean, I always liked baseball, but I forgot how fun it could be. And your video's completely gone again.
What? Oh no, it shouldn't be. It's here for me. Maybe it'll come back for you.
It's still there for you?
Yeah. You're here. I'm here. We're all here. I'm recording.
Your screen is black. I just see a B for bear.
That's cool, man. I'll be like a letter. It'll come back, man.
Okay, Theo Vaughn.
We're just.
I'll be
a
letter, man.
It'll come back.
Sounds good. The Reds won 12 games in a row, which is their longest winning streak since 1957 this year. Their payroll is about $70 million, one of the lowest, if not the lowest payroll in all of baseball. And Marty Brennaman said at the beginning of the year that it would take, and I quote, divine intervention for the Reds to win the division this year. And right now they have sole possession of first place, and it's about to be July here in just a minute. Reds called up a kid named Ellie De La Cruz, which is probably the most athletically gifted, I'll go as far as say definitely the most athletically gifted baseball player since Bo Jackson. Not kidding. Dude is a switch hitter. Hits above 300 from both sides.
Seriously?
He's the fastest base runner in baseball. Imagine if Randy Moss played baseball really well. He hits infield hits to first base and gets base hits. I have never had more fun watching a baseball player in my life. It's a video game.
Say this man's name again.
Ellie De La Cruz.
Ellie De La Cruz. That boggles my mind, because what you're saying to me, in effect, is there's a player out there with the athletic ability of a Randy Moss or Bo Jackson. I've never heard that name in my life. That's how out of touch I am with baseball. And it's I don't know what happened with that relationship somewhere along the line, but I just watched the NFL, man. That's what I like to watch. I don't watch basketball. I don't watch baseball anymore. That's crazy to me that there exists an athlete.
Part of it is the way that Major League. Yeah, so part of it is the way Major League Baseball has approached making their content available to people. At the very beginning of streaming days, they really locked down who could broadcast Major League Baseball content and who could rebroadcast it. And as a result of that, it's removed baseball or diminished the role of baseball in American culture. I mean, if like baseball, is America's pastime. They play 162 games a year. There should be lots of opportunity to watch baseball. And I guarantee you, dude, if you ask just 10 random Zoomer kids on the street who Mike Trout is, 10 of them won't know. That's just what baseball is now, sadly. But it's also a thing that's like the love for it goes back generations. And I think about my dad and my dad's dad and how much they love the Big Red Machine and how much of that is a like a family thing and what the experience of going to a ballpark and taking in a Reds game has meant traditionally to me and my family and how they've been bad except for a couple years since 1990. And it is fun to see these Reds win again because they are not just like, they're not the Dodgers, dude. They are a bunch of dogs. It's a bunch of 21-year-old kids who get down 5-0 and come back. They call them comeback Reds. I mean, they are a bunch of dogs, and it is fun. I've never seen like a more fun version of baseball played ever. It's like what baseball should be. They play small ball. They're aggressive on the base paths. They make the defense nervous and force errors. I mean, it's a game, man. It's so fun. But anyway, since you don't, aren't connected with baseball anymore, we don't have to live there. What is it with my podcast always starting on baseball? It seems to be a thing.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Man, that's the thing. You're like in it. You're in the trenches right now of Major League Baseball play. And yeah, I'm out of touch, but I still have such respect for the game. And I understand that it's baseball season. I have right now 5 baseball players, young baseball players, JV, heading to varsity in the next couple of years. Like, I still train kids for the sport. I love the sport. I respect it. I understand it. It's just that I'm kind of tuned out of the pro players in the scene, but not out of the game. So I like to check in and kind of get reports on it. And you have the latest news about professional baseball in my world. So I just kind of like,
I'm happy to be of service.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I seriously, like, I don't know. I'm not going to watch Colin Cowherd until football season or something. You know what I mean? So like, I'd rather listen to baseball from you, I think, than anyone. That's why. And you're wearing like the whole hat. So
well, yeah, dude. I mean,
you're supporting.
You kind of have to. If you own a Reds hat right now, you have to.
I feel like
if there was ever a time to wear a Reds hat, like it's now.
Only time I've ever been was with you to Cincinnati.
Go ahead.
I said only time I've ever been to Cincinnati was with you.
Oh yeah, we did do that, didn't we?
We totally did. That was cool, man. I really like that city.
After we went to Louisville.
Yeah, right. Man, how many hours did I drive us out of the way? Had to be 4?
So this is a good story maybe to share. I started at Berklee the summer of 2006, this tradition of you and I just like info dumping for like 18 hours straight on each other and not sleeping. So the night before my rehearsal dinner in 2014, this is what we do. And like I vaguely remember being at Kroger for some reason, like 3 a.m. and me really not sleeping, but maybe a couple hours. And so the next day, I'm like, okay, dude, we got to go. We get ready. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to stay awake. Like, it's going to be dangerous for me to drive. So I need you to drive to my rehearsal dinner. Like, just take me and I will rest on the way. And you're like, okay. So once you get on 75, in like from the Hanbury exit where I live, there's a 6475 interchange. And if you want to go to Cincinnati, you stay on 75 north to Cincinnati, or in our case, it was Northern Kentucky. You took 64 West, and I opened my eyes long about the Watterson Expressway. And I'm like, dude, that road is not near Cincinnati. We're in Louisville. And you're like, no, dude, no, we're almost there. I'm like, nope. No, sir. So, which is no big deal. I mean, it's just my wedding rehearsal. That's all. My fiance is just waiting on me to rehearse her wedding at the church, which is happening the next day. It's not something that's a big deal if we're late for.
Nah.
It's just one of those things.
Like, it wouldn't even really matter. So.
And it's right, exactly. So if we happen to go to the wrong city, this is one of those things you just deal with. It happens.
Listen, I think I found a totally effective way of dealing with that. I think that driving 110 miles an hour in the opposite direction for as long as we could was a totally fine decision.
We were in the Wolfsburg Jetta, and so you drove us from Louisville to Cincinnati. I believe we topped out 116, and actually, we passed a cop who turned his lights on and looked at us and was like, you know what? Never mind. Just turn them back off. I'm good. Not catching them.
Fracking, dude.
They're in a hurry.
I was like, well.
So then.
I'm not going to have a license, but we're still getting there.
We had used a little over a half tank of gas getting to Louisville.
Yeah.
So we're driving 115 to Northern Kentucky, and we get there, and by the time we get almost to Northern Kentucky, we have no gas. I didn't know. I remember, literally thought the car might stop. That happened to me once when I was 16. I just got my driver's license. It never happened to me another time. And can you imagine, after all that, if we had just out of gas parked?
That's like a bad rom-com.
But we walk in and it's like, hey, Rachel, sorry we were almost late. We accidentally drove to Louisville. And she's like, oh, glad you're here. And it was fine. And I wouldn't change it because, of course, that's what happened. And, of course, we got there.
Man. I remember one time you crawled out of the passenger side window whilst driving 378 in South Carolina, and you crawled onto the windshield while I was...
that was not me, sir. You are mistaken.
No. It was you.
I would never do...
You did not totally climb out.
Act as that.
But my word, his nipples were on the windshield, I tell you. Flat. Man, that was the most impressive display of athleticism. We were going 70. This dude...
That doesn't sound like me.
I don't know what we were listening to, man, but it was pretty heavy.
Oh, I'm not going to lie to you. I still have a playlist.
Man, that was a lot of Dream Theater back then, right? We did that a lot.
It was, but that's not what that was.
What was it? You remember?
Hold on,
was it Incubus or something? Are you straight up have
might have been Circles.
Circles probably sounds about right. That sounds about right.
On.
God, dude.
I got you.
What a good song. Isn't Circles like... I don't know. I just love Incubus, so Circles has a place in our heart, I suppose.
My bad. Did you hear that?
Yeah. You selecting through tracks?
Oh, you know what it might have been? I think I know what it was. Andrew WK. Anyway, I think that's what it was.
I thought you were going to Rickroll me right there. I thought for sure.
Oh, that would have been good.
That would have been good. You just drop. Oh, man.
That would have been a good spot. I hate that I didn't now, actually.
Dude.
So I was thinking, about is like, haven't done that many episodes since our episode when you were here. So for people who like listen to the podcast or flipping through the episodes, it's like, it doesn't feel like that much time has passed, but we filmed that in November, October, which was 8 months ago now. And
yeah, I can't remember when the show was. I was thinking,
like, so somebody said, like, there are only 6 months left in 2023. And I was really trying to get my head around that.
Went by fast this year for you?
It feels like it feels like we're a month into 2023. So I started like trying to put together a timeline of what's happened this year. And it was like, and another way to think about that is like what's happened for each of us since we filmed our podcast. So I know for you dropped your first record. You've launched all of your media presence on like every platform every day. You've been super disciplined about putting content out constantly. And we kind of started out, I was more consistent with the podcast than I have been lately. And I had good intentions of being more consistent with it this year. And so sort of thinking about like, should I view that as a failure on my part of what I've done relative to what my resolutions have been? And I started going through like the timeline of the year. And I think if you're strictly looking at maybe Ram Dass's channel 1, it's a failure. But I think if you're looking at channels 2 and channel 3, I think channels 2 and 3 have been wild successes this year in my life in ways that I didn't anticipate. And that's just as good, if not more important than my intentions with channel 1. So first, tell me about your plan whenever it came to content, this record that you have out, and just tell me what that experience has been like, what you've learned, and how you're taking that forward. And then I'll kind of give you my take on the last 6-8 months too. It'll be like we're catching us up and catching everybody else up, right?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, yeah. It's there are many levels that one learns at simultaneously, permanently, and that's pretty much what's been going on with me since we last like hung out in person. Like I've just been hurtling towards life every day, and it's like you just kind of do art every second you're alive. That's what I'm trying to do. I have an allotted time every day to do a little bit of creativity. I have clientele to maintain at the gym, and maintain good relationships there with their exercise routines and their food needs, or caloric conversations, or just nutritional profile conversations. Like, got to keep that in hand, and then got to carve out some time to be creative, and then you have to maintain your every personal relationship that you have at home. And so there's just an allotted time that you have to put into, there's an allotted time for everything in your day. And if you kind of hold steadfast to that, like a training regimen, you can get stuff accomplished that you want to accomplish artistically. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. It's just it's a result of those habits being built in. You know, we want to talk about music history. I think it's important. I think it's fun. I think I'm learning a lot about music. I'm learning a lot about music history, and I think that's a cool podcast to put out. So that's my Thursday. You know, I enjoy doing that. I enjoy digging through the albums and learning. I really love making music. That's something I want to do. So I have to set up a little schedule so I can just make something and present it in a way that's enjoyable to myself, to other people. So when you talk about content, I don't know, man. It's like that seems to be what the consumer wants is content, and I'm really trying to put out something that matters, like something that's
let me
artistic.
Let's reframe it a little bit. You and I have talked about making music, putting out music since 2006, which I don't know if you know was 17 years ago. And
I do now.
Yeah. So then, you know, I went out to California in 2010. We've each had our various sort of fits and starts. You had Component in 2010 when you were living in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah. You put together an album's worth of material with a band, put a pretty big budget for doing something independently into putting the DVD together. And then you come back to South Carolina, and you've been in South Carolina for a number of years. And it's always been, you know, I think we covered this a little bit last time, but you talk about like, you had this time where you wished that the need to play music and play the drums wasn't a part of you. And it was something that was hard for you to come back to and do. And so I think the insight is like, what were the things that made it hard for you to come back to and do, and how did you overcome that? How are you able to go from, I can't bring myself to sit in front of a drum set, to being someone who is building houses, is putting out records, who's talking about music, who's engaged in music, who's doing all of these things at once, every single day, consistently over a long period of time? Because to me, if I look at anyone who's been in such drastic places, there has to be a story there and some lessons there. And I think if you frame it in terms of like Pressfield and the War of Art and overcoming resistance, I think you've overcome a lot just to be doing it as much and as consistently as you are. And so it's what has that journey been? Why has it been important? I mean, there are all those sort of channel 2 and channel 3 questions. And I think that's what I'm sort of driving at. It's not like it's not just I'm putting out videos because people like to watch videos. Everything you're doing, it's important to you to do everything with some degree of authenticity. So you're not just going to the platforms where people are. You're pouring yourself into it every day, and you're not hesitating, and you're not getting caught up in anxiety and self-consciousness and self-hate and noise from other people. You know, you're beating the resistance right now, and I want to know how and why.
Pressfield has a great point in finding the aggressive and masculine answer to the resistance. There's another way to fight the resistance as well, and that is to structure the day with as much harmony as you can with your biological self, what I would consider the feminine elements of existence, the nature, the feminine, right? Marry those two things and stop making them go to war. Because a lot of times you would look at the feminine as resistance. You would look at your biological necessities as resistance. They're not. It's the way that they are interdependent. So the way they communicate is what structures peace and momentum. It's a war, or it's a coming together. If it's a war, you have to lose. Like, who are you fighting? Like, you're trying to take something. There's external resistance, there's internal resistance, there's physical resistance that can be framed as resistance. But there's a way to work with some of it so that it's more a marriage and less a war. And I think the mechanical way to approach that is to try to love what you're doing while you're doing it, and do it for as long as you can, for as long as you can love it, and as long as you can hold what it is that is art in that moment. Do that activity. And when that starts to slow down, put that activity down for the day and do another thing. So I'm trying to be creative and find like the truth, the art, be a place for real, be really present. That's what making art is. Be really present for as long as I damn well can in a day's time. And that means being in a moment. But if you're playing a drum part, right, you're in the moment, you're in the truth. But as a biological mechanism, you can't live in that truth for 24 consecutive hours forever. You can't, you just die. So to be really in the moment, or really at peace, or really comfortable with what you're doing, you have to be comfortable with now. So when an activity's artistic time frame is up biologically, you move forward into another activity, which is like time management, an agreement with your physiology, and it's a marriage, and it's a way to like structure a day and a week and a month and a year. And I'm trying to sleep well, lift weights, have good conversations, help people, play music, talk about news and shit, and then laugh at funny stuff. And
so it's like you have to maintain that foundation of life force.
Mm-hmm. You have to find the willpower.
Biology has to work for everything else to work. One question that I have, though, you hit on something. You're saying you'll do it as long as you love it, but then not force it beyond that, right?
No, it's when you fall out of sync or fall out of phase with the given activity. It's almost like a rep count.
Yeah.
Like when you are synced up and you're holding a deadlift, right? And you scoop a deadlift off the ground. Like if around rep 11 you're doing some weird contorty crap to get the weight up, like you're not in it anymore, right? There's a physical breaking point. It's the same thing when you're like in flow state. When you're in flow state, you're really actively creating. There's a time limit on that, dude. There's a biological time limit. And so there's the idea of spaced repetition, of course. We've talked about that before. And then there's the idea of just getting in the flow state, staying in it for as long as you can, and trying to press the limits of how long you can maintain it. Okay. But guiding it in any way is kind of weird too. So it's like it's a developed thing. You condition yourself to stay in it longer the longer you're in it. But there's still a time limit. I can't be in an artistic place for like 5 hours a day. That's too long.
So I have a specific question on that.
Okay.
Asking for a friend here. So you go through this period where you're not picking up music at all. You're not playing the drums. You're not coming to it. And there's sort of a dichotomy there, because it's like, it's something that it's in you to want to do, but it's also because you want it to do it so bad, and it's such a part of you that it's painful. It's painful to come to it, right?
I got you back.
So at some point, when you haven't done the thing over an extended period of time that you know that you need to do, at some point being around it feels like looking at a monument to your failure.
Yes.
And how do you make yourself love that?
And
maybe it's not make yourself, maybe, go ahead.
You have to walk through it. Like, look at it as a truth, a potential that you could legitimately see that is unrecognized, that just continues to nag at you. If it nags at you over the years, I mean, it's really something that nags at you, then the only way to treat that is with, well, sincerity. I mean, there's a real call that has to be realized to an extent that it makes you a happy person. I mean, that doesn't mean, Fortune 500 company stuff that some people dream. Like, it's you fulfill what it is that you feel like the call is. And I mean, for me, that's making art and putting it out for people to hear it, right? So, like, I love music. I love the art form. It's a wonderful thing to be in that peaceful musical place. And it's awesome. It's a piece of art that everybody can feel and move their bodies to, like celebrate moments and time together with. So there's a serious call for me to do that, be involved with that. And if I ignore that, like, yeah, I don't feel good about just playing and not sharing it. It's like, because if it moves me, if it feels really good to me, like I want to share it. I want to put something out there that people can feel.
Is there any part of that has to do with following through on a previous commitment to it versus just doing it?
Well, you could go down the line and attempt to suss out, whether or not that previous agreement to it was something valid. You could certainly go down that line. You could certainly investigate that. But for me, I made a commitment to be a musician because I love playing music. That's what a musician is. That's what it is. And so, to pursue it and like do the business side of like, here's the product, here's some art, would you guys like to buy it? And hey, you buy it and then you can make a living off of it. Like, that's a business. That's like, sure, it would be cool if the music income was something that was large and allowed me to just focus on music solely all the time, right? Like, maybe I would go that way, maybe. But again, I can be creative like 5 hours a day. So like, I'm going to do I'm going to do what I can do. Like I want to put good shit into the world, and the internet just lets you do that. So like, I had like a commitment, but it's not like a business commitment or like a whatever. It's just like I love playing music, and that's like the truest thing this person can do. So
I like hearing you say this, because I think something that I've told you over the last couple of years is it feels to me like my interactions with you are more like my interactions with the kid that I got to know you, and you're back to yourself versus the different iterations I saw of you throughout your 20s. And you're sort of telling me the same story in a sense, which is you're going back beyond to a time and a part of you before the places where all the emotional baggage came from. You're going back to the fundamental elements of yourself and living from that versus how you want to carry on a story.
I think I missed a little bit about what you were saying. You said bringing emotional baggage to the story, or going back beyond the emotional baggage.
You're going back. You're going back. You're going back to listen to the more fundamental elements of your makeup that existed before those twists and turns in your life that the pain came from. And that's where all the creativity is coming from now. It's like you've dug underneath all the programming.
Maybe so. It's
people right now are like, what are these guys talking about?
No, yeah, you could take it to as abstract as you need to, but it's so funny because if you take it to its complete abstraction, like this, for real, this moment in time that you are, this creature in time that you are, this is it. Like this, we are singular, strung together moments that like tell narratives, and you have a inkling of a hope of willpower in each one of those little tiny moments, and then like a third of that gets shaved off, right? and then a bunch more shit too. But anyway, there's a tiny amount of like oomph towards something, right, that we have, and it's all in this moment. The whole thing is always encapsulated in now. And if you're like utterly living in that, then sometimes just right now is a snare drum, and sometimes just right now is a kick drum. And then like you can subdivide now, and it's like really kind of awesome to decorate and do that, right? And so just man, that's just a beautiful thing. That's what we have. And if you take it to extreme levels of philosophy, it'll always come back down to like, you're a creature that experienced stuff like this. Like we don't bumblebee, we don't apple, we don't like turtle. All the way down, up, sideways, doesn't matter. We human. And that's a set of parameters. And so, you know, like looking at things in narratives of, man, maybe that's a failure because of the way my moral value hierarchy is constructed in me versus the way I carried out things in my past. They don't quite align. So therefore I failed, or I'm bad, or I'm whatever. And that narrative guides you. It's a cognitive framework. It can be rearranged and fumbled around and thrown all sorts of places. And I don't know if you were to cellularly reconvene with your moral hierarchy right now and go forth, how would you act with the world? Remove your past, just set yourself up with current moral hierarchy and go forward. What's that look like? Because in essence, that's what's happening perpetually. But that framework of the past does alter the future, and we're aware of that, and that alters now. So being able to play the analytical game of cognitive reframing of life, sure, you can even use that to justify things, to lie to yourself about why you feel physically bad for denying this, story that you've told yourself. You can get caught in the weeds of analyzing and picking apart and deconstructing. The fact is,
I'm losing you just a little bit, but I want you to hold that thought. I'm going to use the restroom real quick. Okay. I'll be right back.
Go. Cool.
Okay, you're touching on something that is like the seed of a tree of places we could go.
Sure.
Based on like where my mind has been for the last 6 months. And here's what I mean by that. Because there are a lot of parallels with what we were just covering and a lot of other conversations we've had even in the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. So the question that I was asking you is, how do you find your way to the place you want to be and the existence that you want to have and the person you want to be using the cognitive framing, right? And it sounds to me like in some way your answer fundamentally is that's not even how you find your way to it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's so profound and something that didn't really click for me until I was 34. Something that I could understand intellectually, but not understand any deeper than that. And even still, I'm going through a process of reprogramming into that because it's so different than my tendency. So if you just think about the discussion that we had about music the other day and about rhythm and about timing, and like trying to find your way into it with the intellect.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. But nope. I think that's true. I think that's true for every other aspect of our culture and society, and where we've gone so wrong in many ways. Humans are the only creatures that have the ability to model ourselves and our lives in our minds across time. We can sort of imagine our past selves and our past circumstance, imagine our future selves and our future circumstance. And that's a really helpful tool. But it's just a model, and it's just a tool. And it's not actually us. It's not actually time. It's not actually our circumstance. It's not actually our experience. So,
well,
I remember when I graduated when I came back from Ren's office, and I was struggling with what the next step in my life was going to be. My friend Kathy she set me down. She says, "Thaddeus, your life is not a problem to be solved." And I was like, okay, thank you for giving me permission to be a person. But what she was trying to get me to understand beyond that is not just permission to be a person, but the mode of mind that I was using to try to direct my existence isn't the thing that experiences life and isn't the thing that should steer the ship. It's just a tool that we have as people, right? But it's we live in such a materialistic world with such a mechanistic worldview that we discount the role of our experience in how it drives us and how it should drive us. It's just we live according to everything as an abstraction. And it advantages us, and it disadvantages us too, I think. And what I mean by that is, I think we're at a place where in economy and in technology, there are great advances, but we've forgotten how to just facilitate or de-emphasize the need to facilitate things that help foster our existence as just being human beings. Mm-hmm. And also all of the things that go along with that, which is anything that points us toward anything cosmic, divine, existential, or having to do with any notion of God. All of that has been sort of de-emphasized and dismissed and thrown away. And I think that's tragic because it's just a part of us. And it'll always be a part of us, whether the intellectual, materialistic mind buys it or not.
Yeah, that's what Nietzsche was saying when he said God is dead. It's God is dead. We killed him, and there'll never be enough water to wash away all the blood. That's the full quote there, or maybe I'm paraphrasing it. But regardless, it was that our intellectualism had stripped our mythological understanding of the universe, and that was a pillar that society was constructed on, and it was going to destabilize things. And
it's not just mystic. It's not just mythological. It's experiential.
Well, call it spiritual.
We have disconnected from that element of our experience. It's not just the stories.
Yeah. Do you feel that technology's done it? I mean, are we co-conspirators here? I would say so.
Yeah.
Is there a way to play with it or not? Like,
no, I think there is.
I think there is a way to play with it, and the reason I think there's a way to play with it is because I've discovered so many cool pieces of existence through technology, but I've also been taken some dark places through technology, and it's fire, man. It's nuclear power. It's the bomb. It's dangerous. It's useful. It's now a part of existence. It's like a river. You can drown in it. Be careful. You learn to swim and get in. And so, yeah, I think that tech is, it's already a part of our biology now. So it can kill you, sure. But I think
we should ask the question. I think tech is amazing. But
we're doing this.
We should be asking ourselves whether it's something that's serving us and allowing us to lead our human existence according to our nature better in a more meaningful way, or if it's something that is forming us rather than facilitating us. And I don't think we ever asked that question.
It would be forming us regardless.
It would be. No, you're right. It would be. But it should be doing it in a way that is in harmony with our nature. And I think what's happening is
the scary thing is that might be the case already, and we're just that type of creature.
It might be.
As a collective.
But I also think on an individual basis, that algorithm is shaping us as individuals more than we realize. There's a perspective drift and a priority drift that happens just from the repeated exposure to the things that these platforms tend to emphasize that we don't even realize is happening.
Of course. That's every single tech forever, man. And that's, think of industrial tech and just body shapes, that we are a freaking blip in the universe that's ever expanding and creating permanently. Like that's all now actually does is creation. It's just it's like permanent, and you're part of that thing. So it's perpetual transformation forward. And are we one big human organism, or are we just individual? How do you analyze it? How do you frame it? Because if you frame it like as if we're a big group, then yeah, you might be the type of person that goes and I don't know, throws paint on a painting or soup on a painting and screams about it or whatever, because certain members of the group are killing everybody in the whole group, and that's bad. It's like, how do you cognitively frame existence itself? Like how are your priorities set inside of you? Like, it's in order to live a life, I think you have to kind of abide by a bit of your limitations as far as how your general scope is. Like, you have to, it's hard to cognitively reframe. Generally, it's actually difficult to do that. So a lot of people just don't, so they get stuck in a loop. I think that's what the 20s are. Like all of those years, I think that's what that is getting stuck in one framework and having a difficulty breaking through ego or whatever you want to call it. But I
think most people do that forever, dude.
Yeah, just, okay, fine. Yeah, forever. But, say, you have all these narratives. You have the potential for all these narratives. We can understand things on hundreds of levels simultaneously. It's like, what's going on in the state of geopolitics and potential warfare and current warfare. If you put your consciousness there, that is a legitimate, almost universal constant. Like when things get to nation state sizes, they rival each other and will kill each other. It's just, that's a part of human nature, I think. When you group us all together, and on an individual level, that's just something that will permanently be contended with. And so you can put your consciousness there, and you can be totally anxiety ridden about the potential for nuclear war all day long. Or like you could go outside and get in the sun and be like, damn, these flowers are just flowers right now.
Yeah, I think in some really extrapolated way, what you're saying is things couldn't be other than the way they are, because they are the way they are. But I don't think that means that we shouldn't be trying to have different conversations.
Well, conversations change the way things are.
Yeah, right. So it's...
They are the way they are right just now. And our move, and the only move, is like what's calling us forward, man. Like you have to actually pay attention to that. Like inside something, at least for me, is calling me forward. Like, what do you want to do? Like when you finish this podcast, man, like, what do you want to do? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but like, it might be just like sit down and be calm for a while. It might be meditate. It might be go to work on something else. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but there will be like a call in there, and you can fulfill it or you can replace it with something. Like it's whatever it is. Like there's just this permanent flux is all we really are of like right now and what's right about to happen. We can make future projections for a long time, but the further out we go, the more inaccurate they're going to be. It's like trying to map. So, you know, if you try to be present, plan outwardly, but then try to come back to being present often, I think that's a more sane space to be in.
Well, that's what meditation is.
I think it's a solid place to be. Now, that doesn't eliminate the threat of, you know, bombs dropping on you. But at the same time, for me, for real, like I have to be able to turn off that spot in order to be creative. Like if I were in like Kiev, I might not be being so creative. Like there's different demands with different environments. Well, so, man, it's just
what you're speaking to there is the difference in the activation in physiological terms. It's a difference in the activation of the default mode network versus the task positive network. And just to build a foundation for a discussion on that, you know, what I said about this year and it being a blur and maybe not successful in channel 1 for me so far, here's what I mean. So I started out the year crushing it, running, crushing it, diet, and I had been since September. I had found consistency in certain habits, certain plates that I wanted to keep spinning in a way that I'd never found in my adult life so far for a while. And then that just consisted of a block of time from like January to March. Then I had esophageal valvuloplasty surgery in Orlando on March 17th.
That was wild.
And there were a couple weeks of nothing but recovery from that. And then I came back, liquid diet for a month. Mentally, I wasn't fantastic just because I was ready to move on and get my sort of momentum back, get more plates spinning, but keep the other one spinning as well.
Yeah.
I took a legal off-the-shelf mushroom supplement that a lot of people take that was very bad for me and put me back in a place of anxiety and dysfunction like I had been in 2021. And it took me some time to come back from that. So as I've been able to get my head above water and come to the surface throughout the year so far, I've done real estate deals and I have filmed podcasts and done social things, but there's been a lot of internal things to deal with that just I didn't have any choice because they just grabbed me, right?
Yeah.
And if I put that together in terms of like a chronology of events that mark the time, mm-hmm. There's not as much there as a person would hope there would be. However,
okay,
through the experience of these different states that I've been in and trying to work through things and gain insight and continue sort of the healing process that began in 2021 for me after I was given Reglan. I've done things this year like have psychedelic experiences and more therapy and I've come to, I would say I always thought that I was a very self-aware person. I was self-aware as people go. But I really didn't have nearly as much of a sense of the way the wiring internally was put together as I thought I did. And a lot of things for me have been that were obscuring my vision about life and myself have been cleared away for me. Or at least I've temporarily been able to look through some windows and see some things that I had never seen or I had forgotten. And in that way, I've come to know myself and also understand this experience that we're having here better in a way that's really important and profound.
Do you feel more?
Just to take that back home to where we started with this narrative, I have come to learn very clearly that I'm neurodivergent, or some people call it ADHD, and what that means functionally. Andrew Huberman talks about, I'm sure other people do too, is the prefrontal cortex is supposed to act as a conductor between the networks of the mind. And in a lot of neurodivergent people, the seesaw doesn't work like it does in other people, meaning the task positive network doesn't fully engage and the default mode network disengage or shift in the same sort of coordinated way that it does in other people. So for people listening, so when I say default mode network, that is the narrative mind. That is the context mind. The task mind is the one who's just turning the screwdriver or playing the drums, right? And so when I look back at the story of my life, I see all these instances where the default mode network in the intellect wouldn't shut up so I could do the thing. And that's how I see in part how clearly that shoe fits. Like when I was a kid, I would practice basketball, dude. I was so into basketball. I practiced basketball on my own more than anyone else I knew that I grew up with, times 2. wasn't as athletic as other kids, but the skill that I had developed from the amount of time that I spent with the ball in my hand should have counted for something. And a lot of times in situations where it mattered, it didn't, because I was too in my head. I was playing the game and living the narrative at the same time, and you can't. And the other thing that I've come to understand is I actually can't change that, but I can benefit from an awareness of it across time. So what it looks like when those circuits are active at the same time, there are networks that are active at the same time that normally are loud when others are quiet, is you have all this noise and there's all this talk that's happening at the same time, and it's like there's this stream of consciousness that's coming at you, and it's a lot all the time. And the best you can do is try to just respond to it in a healthy way, realize that you aren't your thoughts, but it's not, and I'm just fleshing this out loud, so it may sound like nonsense, but it's not a bad analogy for me to say that I have lived my life up to this point as though I were driving a car, which has worked in some way, but a better approach would be and would have been to realize actually I'm driving a sailboat. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
You got that. You nailed that. Yes. The winds are going to blow, and you're a product of that environment, and you can
internally and externally,
correct.
The winds are going to blow.
Yes. Right. And so even in a narrative sense, that is correct. You are steering a sailboat. Like, you can set your sails, and then you have to have the feel to ride the sails. And that's not thinking anymore. The plan has been set. Now feel it. Like, that's the mechanics touch. That's rhetoric. So that is the part where that the editor has to move out of the way for. That has to disappear. And that's a part of the marriage. That's just a part of the marriage. It's if you can draw the psychological dichotomy, then you can feel it too. And you just have to allow that element of existence to have its time. If you want to separate it, it's time. Like, you're one thing and that's it. Like, the way I look at it is different. Like, I'm one thing, and that's run by like thousands of wanting personalities inside of myself. It's like I'm a container of 1,000 different wants and desires at any given time, and like the ship is steered by gallery. So
I think this is something we have in common, and I think it's more true for each of us than it is for most people.
Sure, maybe so.
So, just to, and I'm going to do a Substack post about this, but it's a good exercise to sort of flesh it out. The neurodivergent or ADHD mind specifically tends to experience itself as having this perpetual infinite potential, but just can never put the pieces together to actualize it. And I think everyone has a degree of that, but to people like me, and I think like you, to an extreme degree, because there are all these different parts of the mind that are active and that talk to each other all the time, such that there are all these connections that exist within us so that when we see a thing, there's an intuition that picks up on patterns in things, such that you just have this foundational understanding of the nature of the way things work, of the way life works, of the way physics work, of the way mechanics work, of the way balance in nature works. And in each task or each artistic endeavor is just an attempt at figuring out a way how to apply those more fundamental understandings to that discipline, right? Or to that activity. And so there's this feeling of like, well, I can figure anything out, right? But there's also this limitation of energy, and this limitation of not enough dopamine, this insatiable need for dopamine. And so it's like you're talking about this biology and this gap between your expectations, your hopes, the feeling of your potential, and those constraints of your biology, right? And you're just sort of framing in more psychological terms, or more existential, almost mythological terms, relational terms, something that already exists within the ADHD mind. So let me. So for me in my life, I feel like I've been at the intersection of a lot of things. I've had relationships with a lot of people that I've gone and watched do amazing things. And like, it's like I've worked in the U.S. Senate. I watched one of my childhood friends become one of the most beloved country artists maybe ever. Okay, I've watched my wife's brother become the CEO of GNC Corporation. I've watched my brother, who grew up on the same farm as me, climb sort of a corporate ladder and become this high-level finance guy, and sort of like build this dream that he had envisioned when he was a teen, of this nice house at the beach with a great wife and these like wonderful kids. And it's not incorrect to say that I've been successful in some way with all the different things that I have stuck my toe in, and with my real estate business, and with the life that I've built. But it's always felt like there was a real disconnect between my potential and my existence, despite other people perceiving success, right? And I never knew what to attribute that to. And I've come to understand that most people have the ability to be faced with the expectation of a role or a box at some point in the course of their life, and look at the boxes and say, okay, I fit in that one. That looks like, I think I could wear that one forever. And when people are able to find their identity in that, and then and if they're smart enough and disciplined enough, they can be really successful in that role. And there's some part of us that looks at that and says, man, that person really was successful doing that thing, and I'm smart enough, but why didn't I? And the thing that I've realized is very clearly the only thing. I can play any role for a time. I can solve any problem for a time. I can maintain any relationship for a time. I can perform any task for a time. I can sell your house, I can do your photography, I can mix your record. I can write your policy. But I can't become any of those roles. The only thing that I can ever do and ever will be able to do is just be a Thad. And I'm good with it. I've never been good with it before. And I think in some way, that's where you've arrived to before I did.
I suppose so, man. That's I know it's like a,
and I'm not emphasizing constraints. Actually, I'm not saying, well, all I can do is just be a Thad, ADHD Thad who's good at a lot of stuff, jack of all trades, master of none. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I recognize that like what I am is a gift, and it's good to be what I am. And I'm grateful for it. And if I could be more of a specialist, I wouldn't, because there's a world full of specialists, and on a one-on-one level, because of what I am, I can understand any of them.
Sure.
And I think that's its own gift.
It is.
But you don't recognize it because there's no economic value necessarily attached to that. It's not something that's talked about. But I think it's that
that's our culture, man. That's an American culture. More of an American culture issue, I think, than in other, say, European nations, that we attach so much worth to our economic abilities. And man, making money's good. It is really cool. And it's great to make a lot of it if you can. But money's a tool. What are you doing with it? Like, it really doesn't define you as a human being. Like, if you meet a teacher, do you look down on them because they have a salary that's like 40 something, or say it's 50 something? Great. Like, look down on them for that because they're not like killing it, making 100,000, like being a, fucking day trader or whatever the hell. I don't, whatever. It's like, is a person following their passion? Like, how do they even look for success? What are their parameters for success? And if they don't have a clear definition of what success looks like or feels like for them, then yeah, man, you just get lost in the infinity of potential existences, I suppose, because you don't really know like what's at the top of the hierarchy. And a lot of people just put money up there by default because it's a game that we know how to play. It's real life Monopoly every day. Like, we know how to do it. We know how to be like, hey, I'll give you this thing if you give me some of that money. And people are like, yeah, sure, okay. And then it's a trade. We trade. We know how to trade as a species. And there's a direct score. Like, there's a real score. You can see the score go up.
That's the dominant conversation, right? We get pulled into that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if that's
everybody has this other part of themselves that's trying to actualize, but that's the default mode network, and there's someone else saying, no, I need you to activate the task network and do this thing I need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get this thing that you want to have. And in some way, I think the things that can be sold are convenience and pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sell meaning and perspective to people, really. Because that comes from something else. Those are not things that you manufacture. And so I think those are the things that are held up as the dream. I think when people go through times in life where things are difficult, where they're suffering, where they don't have the means that they would hope that they have. There's like anger associated with it because they feel entitled to a different sort of existence because, or I do too, we do, because that painless, convenient existence is the thing that our culture says we should value. And one of the things that I've gotten some perspective on only lately is our minds are really like antenna or a lens, right? And this idea of stream of consciousness is not just like a loose metaphor. We exist in a stream of consciousness that we receive and passes through us, but isn't us. And I think no matter what that looks like, what part of that we're experiencing, if we're in a negative place or we're in suffering, or if we're in a convenient or painless existence, it's all this human experience, and there's always wisdom in it. There's always a richness to it, and there's always some growth and meaning to be gleaned from it if we look for it. And so every mode of existence comes with a certain set of gifts, depending on what we're aimed at. And I don't think we should place such heavy value judgments on how we feel, that the painless moments are the good moments and the painful moments are the bad ones that we want to avoid. There's nothing. It's not to say there's nothing wrong with playing the self game and trying to actualize and trying to avoid pain, but to attach this extra layer of weight to it that there's something wrong with this. I shouldn't be experiencing this. Not only is it uncomfortable, but it's bad. I think we do ourselves a disservice by doing that. And I think actually the opposite is true too. I think there are people who it's a smaller subset of people, but I think there are people who look at life and have the wisdom to say life isn't about being comfortable and happy all the time. And so they like to plunge themselves into the darkness all the time because
that's where all the new stuff is.
What they can pick up there, and what they can see there. Mm-hmm. But I think the truth is that those fun experiences, those painless experiences, those joyful experiences, and also the difficult, painful, dark experiences have equal value as just part of being a person.
Of course.
And we're really here to find growth and to become complete through what we take from all of those experiences. And when we invalidate any of it, we create more suffering for ourselves, and we just fundamentally miss the mark.
Yeah, that's your. I think you're feeling life for maybe the first time, not the first time, but you're feeling life and not thinking life. I know it's not the first time. I've watched you feel life in my life. So a lot.
But mostly no.
But I've seen it. I've been very much a part of it. So yeah, But you're beginning to use the nomenclature of a person that is
experienced in psychedelics.
Yeah, experienced in psychedelics. Yeah.
Just kidding,
in acceptance, kind of. and like this, in the surrender to being the type of thing that you are. You are.
So can I give you an anecdote on this, because I think what I said is really abstract, and I think this anecdote may hit home for some people. So I have a friend, I won't say this person's name, who I had this conversation with long ago about ketamine or even SSRIs or chemical tools to take some of the edge off. And he said, the depression that I have has allowed me to see some things that I wouldn't have been able to see otherwise. And it's given me some clarity, and it's made me have a deeper well to draw from. It's made me a better writer. And he says, so while it's painful, I struggle with whether to take the edge off of it. And the thing that I just said to you about attaching this additional, like, superimposed value weight to what types of experiences we have originated from him saying that sort of, and that sort of rattling around in my mind, which is like, should we say no, I want the suffering because of what I can get from it. Not, when I say suffering, I don't mean in the sense of fear, like outside your comfort zone. I mean darkness. And so I say this, that those experiences are valid, but we shouldn't cling to it necessarily, because it's like we should strive to suffer for what we see, because what we see when we're happy is just as valid. And this person came back to me and said, he actually quoted a Bible verse, which is John chapter 9, verses 1-3, which is, as he walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus said, neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed through him. So I thought that was interesting, because I think that actually makes his point and makes mine too. It's not the condition that we're in. It's how our experience manifests itself through that condition. And how we grow and become the creation that we're supposed to be, that really matters. And
the supposed to be part, that's the trip up. The supposed to be part.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Everything else is like dead on, but the supposed to be thing, like, there is a such thing. I understand that. I get it. But that's supposed to be, and this is not morals or entirely subjective. That's, I don't believe that. I mean, we're dealing in pretty hard biology when we're talking about existence, and I'm willing to bring the scientific endeavor to bear on.
The question is it
realm of existence?
Is it our notion of supposed to be? Is it our notion of supposed to be? Because I think that's a trip up. But if you're talking about, I think, maybe God or the universe's notion of supposed to be.
Well, figuring that out,
I think that's different.
That's a damn endeavor, isn't it? And I mean, I'm
not saying not saying it's for us to figure out. I think actually it is happening.
I think it is.
It is happening. It is in the process of figuring it out. Like, that's one way of manifesting it, right? But it's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, something's going to happen. Like, nothing won't happen. So I'm just having to come to terms with the parameters of a soul in a human body, if you want to separate it, which I really don't. The existence of human is the basis that we have, and that condition alone is enough to if you were to try to neutralize every characteristic of a human into a statistical man, just the experience of being a human being in this universe is utterly fucking maddening, I would say. I mean, it's amazing that there is sanity out there at all. And you're trying to put together like universal narratives. We're trying to straight up figure out what God's thinking. There's almost this, what the hell exactly is God in this scenario? It's like we are understanding physical parameters of the universe and the spiritual elements associated with the physical parameters of the universe. Like we communicate using sounds, and then your brain interprets what I'm saying as meaningful. I mean, it's really amazing. Like language and meaning and concepts and abstract concepts that alter our very biology. I mean, if I tell you a sad story, I've molecularly altered you if you are in fact saddened. I mean, there's real fucking magic going on currently. That's just the universal normality is magic. It's unbelievable what existence at a base plane is. And so I suppose, default mode network, that narrative, it has to blind you to so many things and parameterize some schema to allow you to live. And have micro goals throughout the day. I mean, like you're gonna get some interplay with your hypothalamus. It's coming. You're going to be thirsty. You're going to have a modus operandi upon being thirsty, and you're going to carry out a set of actions. And that's going to take a lot of time in your day. And if you don't compensate for that, you're going to have a bad time. And you could probably pull out an Excel spreadsheet and be a cock about it and determine that you'll spend 10 minutes of every single damn day drinking. And then, okay, cool. 8 hours sleep. Let's hope so. And then that's out of the picture. And then it's okay, I got 10 of my minutes are drinking. I bet at least an hour and 10 of my minutes, totally. Hour, more than that. Let's say 90 minutes is consumed with eating. And it's all right, there's another chunk of existence gone. The problem with the infinite potentials, I'm a fucking soul that can see in 15 dimensions forward. Look at all the things that could happen. Well, when you bring that back down into the scope of the fact that you're going to need a little nappy nap later, those potentials get real honed in, actually. And in order to play music, you actually have to hone them in to the tightest possible moment. And living in that place is phenomenal. I like doing that a lot. And coming to that moment where exact perfect harmony time is harnessed to change the molecular structure of all things around it. Okay, cool. We have the willpower at least to do that. So I guess you can move you can set your sail to be in a direction towards good. I would consider that coming to engage in that human activity of playing music is good. It certainly does no harm as far as I can tell. At least not when I'm doing it. I don't know. But I just, engaging in that endeavor is a fulfilling thing to do as this unit of human is concerned. And like, I'm attempting to make the interwoven beyond galactic existence
completely cut out
a better existence by trying to be the best moment to moment iteration of myself as I can be. And that has to come with all the shittiness that you are as a person by default, because you can only bring forth what you were milliseconds ago. So like, yeah, you have to compensate for that. You must confront the weaknesses in your character and in your person. You have to confront them. And otherwise, the baggage piles and you can't accomplish what you're aiming to accomplish. So that's, man, if you don't have like a general heading, you start to fall apart. So you know, if you made yourself a schedule and you just got yourself like a steadfast schedule thing going, if you were able to maintain it for like 2 weeks and then sit down and meditate for 15 minutes and go, hey, if I continue to complete each of these actions during these times every single day, and this can add up over time, what would that look like in roughly 15 weeks? And you could come up with some strange picture of it, and you might be right and you might not be right. But if you're close to right and that's positive, it's in the direction of your general goal for it. If that's the case, then frozen. You are technically, in a parameterized way, succeeding to your narrator, succeeding to your narrative. And you have to do that in a very physical way. You have to do that in a carnal way. You have to do that with your hands, legitimately. So you just in all of the heady plans that that one could consider, if you don't consider your self and you're just living up here, then you take this for granted, and she will fuck you up, son. She don't like that. It's not like that's like the feminine mother nature of physicality. Like, and I don't even know if you masculine philosophy person down.
I don't know if you can ever fully consider it, because it's a dynamic thing. You're unfolding as a process. It's this iterative thing of like, we're going to consider it, take the whole picture in, plan accordingly, move forward. Okay, that didn't exactly work the way we thought it would.
Right.
Let's do that again. Right. And so this is this endless process of adjustments and recalibrations.
That's all it is, man. That's the dust in the wind right there. That's all there is. And so knowing that, you know, let's paint it in the worst possible corner, knowing that bleak existence is all it is, man, is trial and error. Like, sure. If you take it to that binary, yeah, that's right. That's, but it also is enjoying the process of the trial, and enjoying the process of the error, and enjoying the process of repeating that process. And that is feasible, that is possible, but it requires a lot of damn work. And you will do that work with your hands and your back and your feet and your heart. And if you are physically not able, then you will be squashed dead by this here universe that it won't even care. And so it's the thing that loves you. It's the only thing that loves you ultimately, is the entirety of the universe, but it's the only thing that kills you too. So just, we're gonna play, all of us. And, you know, some of us will have a good time. And man, it's a, life is one of those fucking abstract concepts as it is. Like, you know, life. You've lived so far what you've lived, and so have I.
You should, well, and we shouldn't invalidate any of it.
It's not invalid. It's all valid. It's all, every bit of it's valid. If you look at it like an existentialist, every bit of it's valid. If you look at it like a nihilist, none of it matters. If you look at it like a existentialist, every single bit of it matters. And that's how I look at it. Every single bit of it matters, because that's the art. You know, you want to see every bit of it.
And then the default mode network wants to go, well, since all of it matters, we really need to think about all this.
Mm-hmm.
But
and you just can't.
You actually remove yourself. You remove yourself from it when you do it. When you approach it that way, it's that all of it matters is inherent in it already.
Yeah.
You don't have to add anything to that.
Yeah, because whatever it is,
just a recognition of it is sufficient.
Whatever it is and whatever you are, there is nothing actually inherent in it. Okay, there's nothing inherent in it. There's nothing inherent in you. What is the connection between those two things. That is the only isness. Is you need, as a consciousness, juxtaposition to be realized. So the only thing that is your connection to whatever the hell you're calling it.
This is your dude who's down the hall from JP.
Vervaeke? Yeah. Yeah. Man, there's not a me playing music. There's music happening. Like, and the way music happens is sometimes with this type of meat.
Mm.
And like, that's the way the universe plays drums, man. This way.
Yeah.
The universe plays guitar like that. I've seen it do it.
Well, I think I would say, I was talking to a friend about this earlier, and I know to a lot of people this is going to sound like noise, but it's to me, it's really not. We are having a conversation based on shared understandings of words, shared definitions. But there's so much more that goes into a word than the dictionary definition. There are associations and connotations that we all attach in our own way that provide richness to language beyond its like more mechanistic functional role. And so I think when people use words like universe and words like God, those words are so loaded with connotations that are so individualized that you almost lose the plot.
Yeah.
In the back and forth, because the premises aren't even shared.
That's what we're trying to do right now, generally, as a culture.
Yeah.
Is semantically get to a God we can stop fighting over.
Mm-hmm. So when you say, me engaging in this act is how the universe plays drums. Okay. Mm-hmm. For me, that conjures science class in elementary school of space and the Big Bang, and then there's this continual expansion, and then there's this process of creation that happens as this endless string of consequences, and this is how creation unfolds, and it's measurable, invisible, and material. It all has physical form, and so in some way, like the universe inherently means physical. And then there's connotations associated with God, which are cultural and religious. And I think through the millennia, humans have used human words to represent God as a concept to each other in a way that was understandable and workable. And then sometimes those condensations of whatever God is, but up against other things that challenge, seemingly challenge the truth in it, and yet, so it's like this vision of God as the old man in the sky. I think that's useful in a culture that understands what a father is, and understands what that means in some relational sense.
Right.
But it's not as helpful when a culture when a people lose those shared understandings of what these words are. So there are other words that are used to refer to God, which is like Lord and Creator,
and Yahweh and Allah
and Yahweh. I mean, there's like we couldn't say all of them.
That's right. But the fact that they've been named so many times is a testament to the existence of the concept.
Yeah. So
humans can find the concept. It exists in us.
Well, I know this is so like stereotypical, dude. Like, yeah, man, I took this medicine and then I saw God, dude.
You need to tell me that story, but I have to go train somebody.
Oh man. It's just about to get good.
I know.
We've been approaching.
I can come back and hit this after I do that, though.
Okay. All right. See you, buddy.
All right. Bye.
So, how's your training session?
It's good. We did stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, at first we didn't do stuff, and then we did.
You trained up now? Or are they trained up?
Oh, they're trained up. I trained way earlier today.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was trained in our earlier conversation. I just did a buttload of pull-ups. And I walked like, I don't know, probably in total, maybe 2 miles today. So it's good enough. Nice, easy walk. And then a buttload of pull-ups. And then...
Need to pump up those numbers, dude. Those are rookie numbers.
Listen, how do you quantify a buttload? Is my buttload bigger?
Just
nah,
kidding.
I really I like to have like days where that's roughly all I do. So I'll have playing scheduled for like somewhere between the hours of like a 2 and 4. So I might have to, if I'm not like feeling it or whatever, and I'll get something else done at 2, and then at 4, or I'm sorry, at 3, I'll do the music. Or if I'm really feeling the music at 2, then I'll just start with the music and I'll work that way. But it's like to build in the physical performance element of playing. It's, you got to kind of account for that in your day, in your caloric intake. Because it's physiologically demanding to like play anything. I don't care what it is. I mean, playing funk or jazz or metal or whatever you're playing, man, it'll take a lot out of you. So, on days that I'm definitely going to play, it's a better day for me if I just do like, I don't know, 50, 60 pull-ups, 3 sets 10 or 5 sets 10 on bench, something like that. Bust out like 50 push-ups, do 3 sets 10 kettlebell swings, and like I'll be done. It's like, cool, now I got to play and be ready for that. So, that builds me a better longevity structure. But, I'll max squat with 275. I don't feel like I'm going to explode if I'm doing 275. It's still hard. You know what I mean? It's hard to squat 275, but it's like, as opposed to like pushing everything and going for like 400s, it's a different game. Like if you want to be
feeling like you're going to explode doing squats anyway, it's not good for you.
Well, again, like, not good for you. Like, there's a lot of stupid shit that we like say in regard to that. Like, as a bodybuilder, if that's what I chose to do, like, that's the only way to get there. So that's good for me. That's a game you're playing, and so it's like,
it's not what you're aiming at, though.
Right, and now like it's not good for me because it's not what I'm aiming at. So it's like, to have like perfect health markers according to someone who will have a lengthy life. Yeah, like a 400-pound squat max is not on the register, and nor should it be. But it is something pretty enlightening to go and attain. Is something like that. Like, to be able to really pick up like 400 pounds off the floor takes a lot of dedication and a lot of principle and a lot of programming, and it gets you better at being able to make tiny micro decisions throughout your day. Like, it's like you're going to have to when you run a business, like you're going to have to when you make art, like you're going to have to. So utilizing bodybuilding's psychological principles, you can really learn to structure a whole damn life pretty well with it, because when you calculate everything down to your food, every little micronutrient going in, macronutrient going in, your every set rep counts. All of your sleep is monitored constantly. It consumes you with optimal functioning for a given goal. And you can reparameterize the goal and abstract out those concepts and redirect and become a fucking master at like hunting down something and getting it. And it's like, you just really, what it is you get better at setting your sail, because the chips do fall where they may. Like, your genes do have something to say about, I don't care if you did 300 reps of curls today and like loaded up with trin and test, like still yet there's still interaction with your birthright parameterization. So that bodybuilding, we were talking about earlier about kind of like how I was going about structuring stuff, or like what it looks like to do. A lot of that is abstracted up from bodybuilding's micro focuses on proper sleep, proper nutrition, and adequate athletic endeavor. And it is a simple principle. Ultimately, though, you are what you're doing. So I figured if I started just doing music as opposed to like 3.5 hours of lifting, I'd be a musician instead. And so it's true. Look at that. It's you have to decide to sacrifice everything else in order to really pursue a thing wholeheartedly and find flow states like that. I found tons of meditative and wonderful places in bodybuilding. It was a wonderful art. I think bodybuilding is an art. There's a lot of scientific tools used in bodybuilding, but I think it's an art. It's a subjective showcase of what you've been able to mold with a lot of effort. But that's an art. It's a physical thing. But so is like when you're playing guitar, you are doing a physical thing. It's kind of you're building art with your hands, with your ears, with your body. So I was able to kind of use a lot of the bodybuilding principles in just setting aside the time required to create music. But just recognizing the temporality of existence helps you with that, because it's like you can go really hard at a given task, but you only have so much in the tank, and you're going to need to sleep and recover and create anew and be better. So, set up the time to aim and shoot, and set up the time to recover from it, and you will, with enough will or ability to just deal with the attrition, get somewhere. You'll get somewhere, and I don't know. That was a really cool lesson to have learned from bodybuilding. A really cool set of tools, psychological tools, that I really developed just by wholeheartedly going after a pursuit and realizing what it takes to achieve the goal of having an extremely low body fat percentage and a really high, like a serious muscle density. And I suck at that, by the way. I don't have a bodybuilder physique, so it's incredibly hard for me to attain anything that looks like a bodybuilder's physique. So that was just a definite challenge, but I kind of look at it like an endeavor that was at least for this person a good endeavor as a young man to attempt, I guess. I mean, to engage in, because the shit I learned, and continue to learn. I don't bodybuild anymore, but I still deal with bodybuilders, and still think about it and research it, and I still train athletes, train all sorts of people, right? So you gotta have general knowledge as well, but some of that discipline built into the athletic pursuit can so nicely apply to other places in your life. So relationships, business.
There are definitely trade-offs in what we dedicate ourselves into in terms of the constraints of energy and time, but there's certainly overlaps and everything too. Any discipline gifts you things that translate to other pursuits, right?
Sure.
And each one has their own set, but they're all getting better at using our human to do something that begets other things.
I think that's what we're seeing, dude, as one of the problems that we were talking about earlier. One of the things we're seeing as a problem is that we see so much potential, and I think the human as a creature sees more potential than it ever has, ever.
Yep, can't hear you at all.
Suck.
Are you hotspotting again?
No, I'm not hotspot. I never was.
Oh. Door closed?
No, doors are open. Am I back yet?
Okay. You're black again. I actually hear you better when you're black because it's not trying to render the video at the same time.
Okay.
So we'll just roll with it for now.
Okay.
I think. Go ahead.
Oh Jesus! What is it saying, dude? It's something that we've lost sight of.
What?
As like a species, is that we have so much access to so much potentiality, and in form of social media sites that we're constantly on, and we see all sorts of potentials being reached and all sorts of potential endeavors. And someone like you, someone like me that sees all of the potential avenues, it makes it extremely hard to work towards any one avenue, because you have to sacrifice all other avenues to pursue one. And that's super intimidating. And the sacrifice scares you, because it's like, oh, I'll never be an astronaut if I'm a professional baseball player. And it's like, yeah, that's right. Shut the fuck up, man. Okay. Like, shut up. Just go play baseball. And it's like, like you really do have to like quell that thing. It's like, do you want to be good at the thing that you want to be good at or not? Like, obviously your want to be so good at everything is hindering you from being good at anything. So I would suggest shutting up and doing one of the things. And like, if you don't die into that or sacrifice into that, then you just suck at a bunch of stuff you never really were going to be good at, and you never are going to be good at. And it's like, that's a deep, hard realization.
It's like a hard thing to find your way into, because it's like, how do you decide? And I think part of that comes from knowing yourself. Like, it's like you just, like, you have to decide. Like, it's the same thing that I've had to decide, I think, which is like, you can't be everything, but you can be really good at being bear.
Yep, for sure.
What does that look like? And that's what you just outlined is a problem that I've tried to navigate long before there was social media, that exposed us to this like endless stream of comparisons and things to aim for.
What was that meme? Didn't you send me a meme recently? There was like this girl, she was like, I want to do all the things. I want to be all the things. I want to make mittens, and I want to start at like an RV park. I can't remember whatever it was, but she was just like, I want to be everything, and I want to do all the things. Like, that is, a lot of people in our age group are that way. There's so much to do. It's like, yeah, man, I want to go travel the world, and I want to walk the whole Appalachian Trail, and I want to swim the Atlantic Ocean, and I want to like be a fucking chess grandmaster, and a Jimi Hendrix cover band.
Well, I think that probably, in addition to the economy, but I think that probably has an impact on why people aren't having children, because people are 40 and they still feel like they haven't even started.
Right.
What is that? Everything that they feel like they have to be.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's like this permanent infancy crap that our whole culture's like peddling though. Like, I read something really interesting. I'm sorry that I cannot give you the place where I read this or who wrote it, but it was interesting. I believe that I saw this in an Instagram post, but regardless, to whomever came up with these thoughts, it interested me. It was just a blurb of someone saying, I actually have no idea. And I historically, this is like this person's job. He's like a researcher of this, he or she was a researcher of this. And, it couldn't come up with the concept of a professional 30-year-old dress code, in modern time. It's as if someone
a professional 30
removed what it has removed what it looks like to be an adult in modern culture. And it was a very interesting thing, because so many people look for the uniform that their career is. Like, oh, I'm a policeman, or I'm a businessman, or I'm a doctor. You get the coat, you get the thing. But so many people don't fall into those categories, so the sense of professionalism's kind of gone, and you don't have that Sunday dress thing built in anymore. Like, the suit is gone. It's like, you be a grown man, and it's like your garb says something about you for sure, but like, I'm a Chucks wearing type of dude. That's me. That's not really what like 30-year-olds did in, I don't know, in the 90s. It was a different look. And so I think a lot of people are struggling with the identity of adulthood, or what it means to be an adult, or what do the responsibilities look like, or does it require true financial independence? Does it require marriage? Does it require children? What does it freaking mean to be one of these things? And I think people are struggling with that. And especially in a generation that has one of the poorer economies, the first time in recent history that a generation will make less money than its parents in America right now. So that's like milestones that our parents hit at certain places. We aren't hitting them, and so we're pushing back. We're pushing back child rearing for professional pursuits, which ultimately pushes you out of a child rearing window and then forces you into childlessness. And I think we built society.
And less people, and we're going to eat less meat, and it's going to save the planet. And we're going to use less energy, and we're going to have less cars. It's going to be awesome.
It'd be less. It'd be something. It would be something. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be better. It's going to happen. It's gonna that's happening. So it's like, whatever, man. I would love to have kids.
Problems associated with that. We made, for one thing, we made a lot of bets with the way our welfare state is designed, that each successive generation would have more people.
Yeah, our whole economy is built on that like charade. Our whole future is based in debt. Everybody's up in debt up their freaking eyeballs. Nobody has anything.
So, and we need the increased productivity that's a product of just more people. If we're going to bear that debt burden, but also there's supposed to be a lot more Social Security payees than there are recipients, and that ratio is shrinking every day.
Well, I mean, we're going to see a restructuring of society over the next 50-ish years. And man, there's a lot of people that are just not going to have kids. We do have a shrinking population globally. We're going to have to deal with that. If we needed 30-year-olds, we needed to start 30 years ago. So like, all you can do is move forward. If you believe in the future prosperity of the earth, even though there's going to be a dip in population size, all you can do about it is make a baby. And so like, the thing is, though, I don't blame anybody for looking at this life and seeing it as an individualized thing to go about and live. Like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to live the whole thing. It's my experience, just mine. Me. The ego gets completely in the way, and then you just die. And because you can get really into just the oneness of you. But I don't know. I think that might be a flaw. I never wanted to have kids. I don't blame anybody for feeling that way until I met my wife. And then
I think that's a lot of where anxiety comes from.
Sure. I mean, and it makes sense. Like, listen, if you bring a kid into the world, there's that full trope of, oh man, who would bring a kid into this world? It's like, I totally would bring a kid into this world. I would bring a kid into this world with my spouse because I believe in her competency. I believe in my competency. I have a proven track record of competency, and as does she. And I think that we would make a super cool little person, and that little person would grow up and make shit better because that would be a conglomeration of me, her, and it would kick ass. And I believe in that. And I believe in the future of like humans. And like, there's a super cool Boards of Canada album called Music Has the Right to Children. And music is legitimately in my fucking whole being. And if I make a person, I guarantee you it perpetuates. And I think that's a worthwhile cause. And I think it's an extra generational cause. And I think that provides some sense of like peace and serenity and my own being. And it's very cool that I've been able to find somebody that I believe would make such an awesome person just by having made a good impact on this whole damn game herself. So I get the fact that people aren't finding the person that they want to do that with. Maybe they just haven't seen it yet. I was with a lot of people. Like I was in meaningful relationships multiple times. Never saw myself as a dad, and it wasn't the right human being, or it wasn't the right human being at that point in their life anyway to make new people with. But like, I'm not a dad. She's not a mom. But I have the requirement for future existence, which is faith. I have faith because I've been able to do some cool stuff. I have a pretty damn good family. She has a good family. We know what it means to tie family together and build generational, not only wealth, but peace and welfare. Our families have done that and have stuck together for 80 plus years. And I don't see why I couldn't continue that. And I don't see that anything that, any being that was brought into the earth with that type of partnership, wouldn't be a net positive, regardless of the situation that they'll encounter. I assume the situation that they'll encounter will be dire and kind of shitty, but I believe in their capacity to handle those problems and move the world forward in a better place. Just like I believe in your capacity and my capacity to be as a 30-year-old adults in the room and go, hey, some of that stuff you're saying is fucked up and wrong, and I'll say something about it. And some of that stuff you're saying needs to happen, and we'll be a part of the conversation, and we'll get on the internet and make buffoons of ourselves in order to be a part of that conversation, because that's what it means to be an adult. I don't give a shit what shoes you have on or whether or not you have a 2-car garage, or fuck all of that. Like, do you take this thing seriously? Do you care about the benefits of general humanity and bettering yourself? And if all of those things are a yes, then welcome. You've taken on some responsibility. You're an adult and you're part of the solution here if you want to be. And that's kind of, man, shit, that's where I'm at. It's like, I think, yeah, I could make a kid and they'd be awesome. And I would do it. I'm old, man. I'm 34. I hope I could get 2, I hope I could get 2. And I say I'm old because it's like, biologically speaking, that's ancient, man. Like, we're not the type of creature that makes or should be making people at 30. We're the type of creature that should start making kids at like 17. But culturally speaking, that is a freaking nightmare, and we don't know how to have a society built around the biology precursors. So I don't know. It's a whole weird thing that we're doing, and career puts a real damper on the birth window. And I have no qualms with anybody wanting to further their career, but I really think you can make your career whatever the hell you want to when you're 35, 45, 55. I think you can do a lot of things in those years, but I think it's pretty important, biologically anyway, to have kids probably before you're my age, really. But in a career manner, it's like you want to wait until you have things figured out enough to bring a new life into the universe. And I use hardcore air quotes there because it's like, yeah, right. Like, man, I'm a business owner. You're a business owner. Like, you go into something and you're like, yeah, I got it figured out. No, you don't. Surprise. So you learn stuff constantly all the time, even when you're doing the thing as a profession. I say that in an artistic sense, musically. I say that being a YouTube person now. I say that running the gym. Like, you're just trying to figure out stuff, put out fires, make things work well, and do the best you can. I don't care how much money you have or how much time you have on your hands. Bringing a person into the world, I don't think that you could ever be prepared or totally ready for that. You have to take it as it comes. You can get as prepared as you can. I don't recommend being in a desolate, horrible place in your life and bring a child into it. But sometimes that's the way it goes, and sometimes kids grow up like that, and sometimes they're the best of us. So take the gamble. I would like to take the gamble. And just like with anything else, man, like you jump in. If you really want to pursue it, you jump in. And I'm good with kids. I like watching kids get stronger. I like watching kids get tougher. I like watching kids like achieve stuff. Like I work with a lot of like up and coming kids at the gym. And it's just so cool to like watch them throw farther, or pick up more weight, or like run a little faster, or feel good about themselves because they could do push-ups, right? It's like when you watch a little kid achieve something, there's not a lot of things cooler than that. Or when you show a kid something for the first time, like they've ever seen it, you kind of get to see it again the first time in a out of body way. It's really cool. I think our generation's so damn me focused that nobody's thinking about how cool that is. And since I get to see it in younger kids and clients that are like, doing better at volleyball, it's like, man, if I had a little kid and taught them how to walk, or like they talked to me, like they had their own ideas and said stuff to me, like, oh, I'd be that Family Guy dad, like hitting you in the face with his wallet. Look at my kids. I might turn into that guy, but yeah, I kind of want to try that. And even still, there's going to be a massive population decline. Even if I get 2 of them out, still huge population collapse. Everybody to save this needs to have like 5 kids. It's not going to happen. I don't blame you. Welcome to the smaller world and smaller economy. Welcome to bartering. We will figure it out as a species, you guys.
Elon's taking a little bit of the burden away from both of us.
Oh, God. Come on, Elon. Elon will save us, man. He's going to save us because he's going to get in a jiu-jitsu match with fucking Zuckerberg, and he's going to defeat the lizard people, man. He's going to defeat the robots.
He's going to get smashed by Zuckerberg. Have you seen Zuckerberg? Yeah,
dude. God. Oh,
Zuckerberg is legit, like, still an athlete. He's fitter now than he ever has been. And Elon lost, like, pretty significant percentage of his body mass taking semaglutide.
Yeah, he sure did.
Is not,
that's a lot of muscle loss. That's a lot of muscle loss.
Pretty heavy trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, they're just different people, man. Love Elon.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Get crushed.
Man.
Unless there's some kind of like gag or, some wrinkle,
I think they should go full MMA. So does Elon. That's what he said on Twitter. He's like, I think we should go full MMA. I think
he
Elon
would too.
I think Elon should be given a bow staff. Oh, man.
He would walk into the ring carrying a sink.
There's so many people that are mad at that guy. I did an episode of In Other News a couple of weeks back, I think, about Twitter getting sued by a bunch of publishing companies for not pulling down a bunch of accounts that are posting music, or for not having a library of music that's already licensed by Twitter. So when you go on Instagram and you put up a video, you can go in their music library where everything's licensed and pick from there. And then when you get a stream out of that, the artist gets paid. Well, Twitter doesn't have that option. And the same goes with Facebook. The same goes with everything, TikTok, whatever. They all have their own libraries, but Twitter doesn't. And Elon's basically saying, this is like the platform versus publishing company argument. He's like, I'm not publishing anything. I'm a platform. Therefore, I'm not. You publishers need to go after the people publishing on my platform. You don't have a case. And I'm inclined to agree with him. I think a lot of people are coming after Elon for just making a general statement that hey, we are a platform that will allow free speech on it for the most part. I'm not saying that he hasn't crossed some bounds with that internationally, but I am saying he's trying to be a platform, not a publishing house. So how are you then going to force that company to buy licenses to music that they're not publishing? And so the publishers are coming after him. They want $250 million a year. And he's just calling them on their BS. And I'm a musician. I totally want to get paid for my music when it's played. That's a performance royalty. If it's, 5, 10, 20 seconds played of the song, then the artist should be paid for that. I totally understand. I'm with that. But they're also trying to get them for like retweets. Like if a band posts their stuff and it's linked back to a copyright protected source and it's the band posting it and somebody retweets that, they want to pull down the retweet, or get paid for that retweet, or have Twitter pay for that retweet. And he's like, well, the retweet's not an original publish. It's not original post. It's a retweet. So it links back to the same copyright protected source. So it's just going to be a bunch of legal rigmarole. And they're going to spend $100 million bullshitting each other. No musician is going to get paid from this. And that a lot of what happens in the art economy is dependent on all these lawyers just haggling out shit, publishers haggling out what they can get Rihanna paid, and that there's no trickle down from there. They all just trade millions up top between the lawyers, and the artists are left out. And it's just another example of that. And I really think it's like a virtue signal to go after Elon. And I'm not here to sing Elon's praises and like call him super mega daddy, but I think he has a legitimate case in this regard, and I think that he's trying to run a damn speech platform, a platform. So I don't know. That's my stance on that. But and I covered that in the story, and I read a big article about it. But it's interesting. But that's kind of what's going on in weird music licensing business world right now, or a snippet of that dimension.
I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. It's good that you're doing these like kind of rant style monologues, because I'm missing like 15% of what you're saying, but it's okay.
Really?
I'm just like, yeah, I'm just waiting until you come back. So it's okay. You haven't made me respond to that much. So it's been good.
That's good.
So before you left, I started talking about the nature of words and how words don't just have definitions. They have connotations. They have a richness to them that's rooted in our experiences that is more than can be defined. And we took that, and you had made a statement about the universe. I think maybe you playing drums is the universe playing drums. I think is what you said.
For sure.
And so I said, we need to back up a minute, because I'm talking about God and you're talking about the universe.
We were trying to define God.
Yeah, so we got into defining God. Okay, so just a few things about that real quick.
Watch this, everybody.
Yeah. So first, the way that we define things is by giving them distinctions that separate them from other things. All the definitions are relative. And so if God is this infinite thing, then the minute that you start to give it an identity, you've already lost in some way, right? Because any definition is inherently limiting. It has to be. So it's almost like if you look through history at words that have been used to refer to God, they're not so much words with definitions as they are different types of words that are used to all point at the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so much of what our religious ritual is. Even the architecture used in cathedrals, it's all, and so much art is all trying to point in the direction of God. Because God as a concept can't be entirely encapsulated.
Right.
We're billions of blind men looking at the elephant.
Right.
That said, we can talk about our experiences as we come into contact with, I want to say mystical forces, even though that's not a very good way of saying it. When we have these sort of transcendent experiences, we can use words to talk about it. And I have to tell you, my experience with ketamine really reshaped my experiential, subjective, I don't want to say definition of God, but associations with the words that are used to refer to God. How about that? Mm-hmm. Because ketamine is, they refer to it as dissociative, meaning you are this consciousness, but you're totally dissociated from the moment and you're totally dissociated from your body. Mm-hmm. You're a consciousness. You're an unmoored consciousness. And then it's like, if you don't have your physicality, the environment, the room, your senses, all pulling you away from that fundamental consciousness, mm-hmm. where does that go? It's like it's like a sensory deprivation tank, like times a zillion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense.
At an extremely low dose, it felt like a sensory deprivation tank. At a therapeutic dose, there are just no senses anymore.
Yeah.
You're just in. I say space, but it's not space. You're in consciousness.
Yeah.
And when
that's right.
And when that happens, or at least for me, it felt like, okay, I'm seeing all these things. I'm on this ride. It felt like, literally, like, have you ever been on one of those rides where you sit in a booth and there's a screen in front of you and then it kind of moves you? Yes. And you connect that with what you're seeing, and it feels, it's like simulating a roller coaster, but you're not actually on a roller coaster. That's what it was like. And it was also the realest dream that you've ever had, and not like kind of lucid, but like 100% awake for. Mm-hmm. And I had the sense that everything that I was seeing that was being shown to me was a very specific reason. And almost immediately when I would see things, the reason would be obvious to me too. Not, and I'm telling you, not in the way of like a Rorschach test where it's like, what does this look like? What I was seeing was abstract, but my perception of it was still clear and absolute. So I saw the first thing that I really saw, apart from, the cathedral that I was in that I mentioned, were these ancient cities rising from the desert. And it was this ornate, overtly religious architecture. And I saw the people that were the men that were constructing it. And then I saw that all happen in real time. And then I saw all of that like dissipate, into the wind, just like you see in the movie when something just disintegrates into ash and it's scattered, right? And I saw that over and over again in different iterations. I saw ancient cities. I saw cities along coastlines. I saw something that looked like New York City. It was like a modern American city. And it became clear to me, in some sense, I was seeing the story of man, and also something about the nature of man was being revealed to me, which is that of man as builder who wants to construct things over time. And then I thought of it sounds so strange to say, and I know it's like a lot of people who've had psychedelic experience say this, but my first thought when I saw the modern city was like, that looks like New York, but it's not New York. That's not real.
Right.
And my next thought was like, seems pretty real.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, maybe real doesn't necessarily mean material.
Right.
And maybe man's nature as builder, like maybe by connecting with this unrestricted consciousness and seeing these things, it's something that all of mankind throughout history has been connected to. And what we've been doing is just giving form to these things that exist in that consciousness.
Right.
And in that way, that's what all art and all creativity is. They're downloads from this more fundamental consciousness where we take what we get from it and then we give form to it. And then the next like branch off of that for me was like, okay, if there's this infinite consciousness that we're all connected to, which is like eternally vast, and is this fundamental creation, like that's kind of in a roundabout way what I heard God described as when I was a kid. This idea of creator God, and then the idea of God is that within which we live and breathe and move and have our being, and that was something that I could have understood in an abstract way when I was in college that we would talk about for fun, on the phone. But I think that ketamine experience was very, very close to, if not the same thing as a lot of what people have when they come back and they describe near-death experiences. Because I feel like it formed and shaped me in the same way, and it was profound in the same way. And I realized that whatever that thing that I was totally intimate with in that experience was, I am, and we are all always fundamentally connected to it. These temporal things just pull us away and interfere with our awareness of it. And so God to me is all of the religious language that's used to describe him, Lord, Father, Yahweh, Creator, but also experientially the fundamental creating and animating consciousness that underpins our material reality, which is the basis for it. So
fundamentally,
and look, I'm not a theologian. I don't have a degree in divinity or any of this stuff. And there's a lot of people who probably yell at me, especially people I grew up with. All I'm talking about is this is what seems real to me based on what I've lived, and it seems really real.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like this.
And by the way, my father-in-law, who's a Baptist preacher, I had this conversation I'm having with you with him, and I was so surprised by his reaction. He's just looking at me like, yeah. And he's like, this is news? And I'm like, you just had to be there, bro.
It's like, yes, I've already thought all of those things. It's like, did you feel any of them though?
Yeah, no, but I think he does. And I don't need to go down a rabbit hole talking about necessarily my father-in-law, but I do think when he was saying, yeah, so in a roundabout way, he actually was coming from a place of his lived experience. And then what I was thinking about today, and you can bounce off all of this in a second. I know you have a lot to say, which is if that limitless creative animating consciousness that I saw directly and that we're all connected to all the time is another way of describing God, if that's what God is, then people roll their eyes, I think, in our culture at prayer, because it's like, why are you asking an old man in the sky to make the world the way you want it, and you're not going to do it? And it's become this political thing, but in a very real sense, I think that actually is sad, because if we are connected to this thing, turning our gaze toward it and engaging directly with it and communicating, connecting back with it as it does with us is a very reasonable, normal thing to do, I think.
It is a reasonable, normal thing to do, especially if you break through the stupid imagery of old man in the sky. The second you caricaturize a deity with old man in the sky, it gives you the 80s sitcom rule of father is a piece of shit, loser, scumbag, and he deserves no respect whatsoever. Just an old man in the sky. When the old man in the sky symbolism was that of the old wise man, the sage, man.
It's exactly. It's just a tactic. This is going back to what I was saying at the beginning of our conversation, which is the personifying language that has been used to refer to God only is appropriately understood in a culture that understands what those things are supposed to mean.
Right.
And so this is exactly what you're saying.
You get to put off the concept intellectually by referring to it as old man in the sky. Just like Christians get off of thinking about all of this by being like, well, that's just the way God made it. And the Lord works in mysterious ways. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out some of them ways, dude. So I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to talk about. That's the point. Aren't you supposed to get to know God? How do you do that? Unless you're like all up in God's shit. I'm trying to figure out God. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be Israeli. I'm trying to wrestle with God, right? I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to know as much of existence as I can. So, you don't get to put off like your unwillingness to intellectually and wholeheartedly in a soulful way approach and look for and feel and find God or whatever that is out there, whatever. If you're not comfortable with the term God, listen, there is some generative force that is using your right hemisphere, or your right hemisphere is channeling into, that you are witness to. You don't create that. Like your dreams, you watch them. You're an observer. The ego is the watcher, but something's happening. And it's like, we're not quite in control of that. You're not.
Dude, we're not even a little bit in control of it. What you're saying about what we give witness to, that is like 90% of what we are. It's 90% of what this experience is.
Right.
The other 10 to 20% is us just trying to grab as much of it as we can and give form to it.
Yeah, with the physicality at hand. And that's
And that's what art is.
That's what art is. That is correct. That is what art is. And that's, it's just, if you don't try to reckon with God in some way, if you just try to poo-poo the concept, or you're trying to like discredit a line of mythological reasoning by saying something as trite and played as that's just a collection of old stories that have no relevance on today's existence, and that is so.
It's a tactic, not an argument.
So blatantly cheap. Listen, the morality of humanity, not stealing, not killing, not coveting, like these things, they still play a role in your psychological well-being today. These aren't moot points. This isn't. There's a lot of parable. There's a lot of canonical happenings in the biblical stories that illustrate points that are. It's utilizing a library of drama over time to express how to be a human. There's a lot of useful information there in a lot of religious texts. And so to try to just dispense with that entirely as if it's not a methodology by which certain cultures manage to generate governmental structures with as a baseline for moral action, to just pretend like that never happened is so intellectually disingenuous that I kind of think, I mean, if you're the level of person that can think on a biological scale, I think you're being a total asshole if you're not willing to reckon with the fact that your biological organism's creating fucking mind movies every night when you go to sleep. Like, you gotta deal with that, and you have no answers. So you really have to be an asshole to just say like, oh, there's nothing to that and all that silliness, and it means nothing. And
people are stuck on channel 1.
The intrinsic meaning.
They only get channel 1.
Well, it's like it's like the that concept of value being in an object. It's like there is no intrinsic value in an object. It's the relationship between those two things. Like if somebody were to try to put a price on Elvis's guitar, right? Then and whatever it was, say it was a $500,000 because it was Elvis's. Like, why is it $500,000 because it was Elvis's? And if it were any Gen Z kid who'd never heard Elvis, it wouldn't be worth a damn dime to them. It might be worth the cost of the guitar, but it wouldn't matter to them. But for any rock collector or rock historian, it might be worth $500,000. Like, how does that value come to be? Where does it actually come from? How could you value anything? And so this is what it means to build a different system of economics using moral hierarchy, internal moral hierarchy. Like, you can be very wealthy on that scale without much fiscal accumulation, many dollars in the bank, I should say. It's like you can become rich in life before you're rich in asset. And I think you have to reach a point where you can look at a system in its entirety, look at a culture in its entirety, and kind of bug out from it. You can use any drug you want to, but just bug out from the typical societal window that people want you to look through, and you'll start restructuring existence pretty good, and for yourself. And I think that's what it means to be individuated. Or back.
This is just like verbal jujitsu. It's like listening to, Alan or Terrence McKenna or something like that. You could put music behind this and listen to it for 2 hours and have no idea what we said, but it would be fun.
Need a string section.
go for a walk and like play this in your headphones and look at trees.
Yeah. That'll be fun. I'll probably do
anyway, what were we saying?
Man, I don't even know.
Like it matters.
Yeah. I think it'll be cool. What were we saying? Basically, we're saying just be like human.
My camera can't focus again.
Yeah, it's like having a hard time. It's like, where are you, man?
It's because it's so dark.
He's right there.
Literally right here.
He's right there. Dude, come on. Really? AI is going to take over? Really? Piece of shit. I'm going to get killed by a fucking Terminator, dude. I'm here talking about wanting to have kids.
I heard what you said.
Dude, I'm going to be John Connor's fucking dad. I'm going to save Sarah Connor, dude. Oh, shit. What was it? John Reese? Is that the dude's name that was John Connor's dad from T1? Oh, man. I would totally fight Arnold Schwarzenegger in a death battle. Like, he'd have to be this age right now. he'd have to be like 80-year-old Hunter. I bet he would beat the shit out of me, dude. I bet Arnold Schwarzenegger right now would just pick me up and break me in half.
Correct. You're strong. I love you, but yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think if I just like knee kicked the absolute shit out of Arnold Schwarzenegger, he wouldn't go? You don't think he'd go down?
No.
Does Schwarzenegger do any jujitsu?
There might be a world where that happens, but it's like I don't think you have the probability.
Oh God, no! He's like 6'2", and he's still a mastodon. Jesus.
I've noticed this is a thing for you now. You like to call large people dinosaurs. I like it.
What? Yeah. Look at him.
You told me, we were looking at Austin's forums, you told me Austin was a megalodon the other day.
Yeah. Just his forearm is a megalodon. he has 2 megalodons.
like the bird.
I would love somebody to draw a comic of Austin with 2 megalodons for arms. Jesus. Like Mega Man. Just a fucking shark. Oh. Dude. It's fun to play philosophy jiu-jitsu, but also like this is what it is. This is what life is. We have a cool tech where we can like talk into microphones and be 100 million miles away from each other, and it still like allow us to have a normal human conversation. But this right here, what you and me are doing, this is why people live longer. The ones that do live longer, because they have like connections that make us shit, and they talk to each other, and they just like a good relationship is what therapizes a person. That's it. That's really it. Even when you have a really good therapist, what are you doing? You're having an awesome conversation, getting a lot of shit out. That's what you're doing.
Dude.
That's what Viktor Frankl said. It's like, that is the case. That's what Carl Jung said. A good relationship and good conversation will be the best therapy you can find. And when, you don't do this and you don't hang out and you don't have like buddies, or you don't have like a community, or even just come to listen to podcasts, I guess. Like if you aren't listening to shit like this, sometimes philosophy, jiu-jitsu, sometimes just the discussion about the love of life and shit you would live and want to live. And, there's always shit to talk about, and there's always, good information to be shared when you and me sit down and chat. So like this is all I'm trying to get across to people, is like develop good human relationships and don't forget to be a human, in the story of your life where you go after your career or whatever it is that you have built up in your head. But it's like, what is a career, man? A career is the collection of shit you did. Like, so do stuff that you like to do and you think is worthwhile living and doing, and that'll be the career of shit you did. And, you know, if you, this is a part of my career right now, what I'm doing.
Yeah, man, I think,
but because we're fucking recording it, it is.
Yeah. So, but also I think just like the paradigm of this idea of work-life balance is just nonsense.
There's no such thing.
It's all work and it's all life, dude.
Mm-hmm. Well, for folks like us, for people that like to create things and do art and do like conversational, thought-provoking stuff, like, yeah, that is, it's all work and it's all life. But other people consider work something that they're going to trade their time for, and they turn it off at a certain time of day, and then they go and live their life. And that's totally reasonable. I think for a lot of people, that's the methodology they prefer. That's their modus operandi. They'd prefer to stop after the clock or the bell whistles and just go live their life, be with their wife, and they're comfortable with the trade-off of, I'm selling my time to this company, and I'll do whatever I want for the other 8 waking hours in my day, and then sleep and then repeat. And, then I'll get how I'm trading my time like that for like at least 2 weeks off every year so I can go do a little vacation or whatever. And like, that's the corporate job. It's the corporate mentality. It's just one mode of operation. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's not good for me. But for some people, it works like a charm, and they really like it, and they really like being able to say, "Oh, I'm done with work. It's like 9 p.m. What do you mean? I'm not working. I'm not thinking about that. Like, that's not real for me, and it wouldn't work for me."
I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I want to clarify what I'm saying, because everyone's going to agree with what you just said. In contrast against what I said, it's going to seem like I'm dumb. So let me explain. If you spend 8 hours a day in an office and you commute 30 days both ways, or 30 minutes both ways, or even if you don't commute at all, a huge chunk of your waking existence you spend at work. Thus, a huge chunk of your life you spend in an office. The people that you become friends with at the office are really a part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
That space that you spend time in forms you like any space does.
Yes, 100%.
And so I think to say that's just work, like it doesn't count, and the 4 hours a day that you spend before you go to sleep, when you like feed your face and watch TV and to help yourself feel better and talk to your kids, like that's what counts, I think is the wrong way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe everyone's not like integrating it all at the level we are, where it's like the seamless thing where like my clients are, I have authentic relationships with them. My clients are generally people I would have relationships with if they weren't my clients. And once they're my clients, they really become that relationship and a part of my life in that real way. Maybe everyone's not doing that. However, it all counts.
Yeah, it all does. It all does. I understand. And you're
it's
totally
all
right.
Life.
Yeah, that what you're waiting for when you're waiting for the bell to whistle, like that's affecting how you're going to be when you get home. Of course, it's all interconnected and all interwoven, but some people just prefer to compartmentalize and they accept that sacrifice. They accept that that's the element. Those are the elements that they will contend with. They're okay with contending with the fact that they might be grumpy this Thursday because Thursday's filing day and that's just a bitch. And I'm going to get home and it's just going to be part of my life struggle is this gig and its challenges.
And I think part of that is most people have an easier time than I do of just going task positive network for a long period of time and then shifting to default mode network at another time. And I can't.
Makes sense.
And you can't. I mean, you can and I can to a degree, but it's not. I don't think you would ever be okay with it for any length of time.
Well, I've certainly had I've had a fair share of really wonderful creative ideas come whilst doing completely boring, manual, repetitive labor. I've had a lot of wonderful creative things come from that. Because now, I'm not talking about...
Because those types of activities are sort of a kind of meditation that sort of quiets a little bit of the noise, but yet doesn't fully engage that other part of your mind that is the creative part of the mind. It almost liberates it in a way.
It does. It does liberate it because you're allowed to be productive. You are doing something productive. You set yourself off on a task, and therefore you can only go as fast as a human can go and do it properly and really try to do it properly. And then if you really focus on it and just take the Buddhist principle, like you're trying to do this the right way. And what's the right way to do something? Like you just pour yourself into the motion of just painting. You're just painting. You're painting one slat, one piece of wood. And a million connections will be made just because you're really pouring yourself into what you're doing, that physical motion. Like I really feel like in any given place in your day, there is a time to practice the right way. There is a right way to interface when you're eating lunch, like when you're just enjoying the food, when you're having a conversation with a loved one, you're savoring flavors, you're breathing in aromas, you're enjoying the presence of another person. Like there is an artistic way to sit down and just eat a meal, and that's requisite for being a human. So find a way to make that moment artistic and memorable and worth living, and then you have meaning in your life. And it's not necessarily the purpose of your life, but it is meaningful, and everything becomes meaningful. And that allows the default mode network to be comfortable with the task positive because it's an artistic endeavor. And when you can try to set up, using your default mode network, blocks of time in which to be artistic in certain ways, you allow yourself the freedom to explore in those given areas. You know, between X time and Y time, you're musically creative. Between A and B time, you're a culinary student, or whatever it may be. You don't have to constantly be learning or whatever, but you're doing the best job at cooking you can. You're doing the best job at husbanding you can. There's a way to make art anywhere, all the 100% of the time, if you try to find that flow state in the given activity. But the context is everything. It's not always going to work out for sure. But, that...
Well, I think it's, for me, I think this is kind of what you're talking about, but it's about giving yourself permission to give yourself to something.
Sure.
I sort of have a hard time when I'm at home because the way my house is designed, it's designed for life and productivity, and my work and my life are so integrated that I get this, and there's always an infinite amount of things to do. So I get this sense of I need to be doing everything all the time. And some of my favorite, most enjoyable times where I feel the most at peace are like if it's a travel day, like if I'm driving a car for 8 hours, or I'm flying to California to see my brother and I'm riding airplanes all day. It's like my mind knows that it's not reasonable to expect me to be fulfilling any other purpose or obligation than the task that I'm involved in, because the task requires my attention.
Yes.
And so it gives me peace, because it allows me to sit down some of the burden of that need for executive function.
Right.
And then I do my best thinking.
That permission has to be granted by what the individual you call I, right? What that individual what that individual would look like if you were doing the things that you felt your gut or your heart pulling you toward. So if you feel your gut or heart pulling you toward a direction, say to do a podcast, right? And that's something that you want to do, you feel like you enjoy that as a medium, as a creation. It's good to have conversation. There's a tons of reasons to do a podcast, and you feel yourself being drawn toward that, and it's something you feel like you should pursue. Well, when you pursue it, you have to be fully there. You have to fully realize it, and you have to give yourself permission to live in those moments of podcasting. You have to do what you're doing right now. And unless you do that, then the person that you feel your gut pulling you toward, that future iteration that your right hemisphere has perhaps concocted and aimed you toward, if you aren't doing anything in your day that makes you resemble that figure, your left hemisphere recognizes that right away and goes, "The fuck?" And then you feel bad. Mm-hmm. So like that's what I was talking about last time with, like, if I don't play drums, I feel bad. Like, and that's why it felt like a prison.
Yes,
it felt
dude.
bad. But like,
yes,
like that's what you have to, like when I accepted it, the chains fell apart. Like it's what I love to do, and it was just perhaps scary for me to attempt doing it, as a whole life, part of my life, and demonstrating it and displaying it to the whole world and saying like, "Hey, here's my stuff." Like, I think that's hard for any artist to do, and like really complete a full piece of art, like a full gallery, like an album or something. That's an accomplishment. It's hard to do it.
It's also like, if it's so essential to your makeup that you have to do it, that means it's also really important. It's an important part of your identity. And
sure,
it's like, what if I do this important thing that's fundamental to who I am and it doesn't work? Then it's like, how deep is that wound? And I think I don't
know if it's a wound, man. Like, here's why. What does not work mean? Like,
yeah. I don't mean it means whatever you think it means. How about that?
That's right. It means whatever you think it means. It means whatever you think it means. And like,
but you have to be honest with yourself about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's I think people look for moral victories in that, and they perform rationalizations to make themselves feel better. But
sure,
I think that isn't real.
Well,
always.
I'm sure.
Which is not to say that there isn't an honest shift in perspective on it that's possible. But
we'll look at it like this: like you got to come up with your own metric of success. But like my metric of success would be putting out lots of art.
It's getting to do it, right?
Getting to do it. Yeah, having the privilege to do it. Like it took a lot of work to have the privilege to do it.
It's like I think a lot of people who, like when you're young and you have dreams of being a musician, like if you really love music and participating in it, like
it's its own reward.
Well, it is, but it's like what does the dream look like? It's if you become this wealthy, famous musician, it's like the reason why you want that is so you can build a studio and then just do it all the time, right? It's like you want to be successful at it so that you can get to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, and so if that's really the thing, the driver and the objective, like you shouldn't at the same time discount the actual activity while you're engaged in it, because the journey is the destination in a really real way.
That's the most real way. That is a true thing.
Yeah.
So, man, just being able to release art and having people listen to it and like it and like connect with me, talk to me about it. Like that's interesting. That's fun. I like that, man. I want to do that forever and ever. And I have the opportunity to do probably that. So I'm just going to keep rocking and keep making stuff. And I don't know, if I get tired of it and I want to like shave my head and go be a monk, I'll do that next. I don't care. I hadn't been there yet. We'll see. But I'm pretty good at listening to whatever that call is, like whatever I feel that like Damon is doing, where it's like you should like listen. Like we'll converse from time to time. We'll have like a meeting. I'll be driving. And it's like, hey, I haven't talked in a while, but doing all right. Like there's a younger iteration of me somewhere in there that like floods my mind like a narrative sometime while I'm driving, while it's quiet, while I'm painting, whatever. And it's like, it's like a stock taking thing. It's like my current self answering to my younger self's ideals. And like, I'm happy. And that means what? It's what I'm where I want to be right now. How could it be better? You know what I mean? Like I assume it could always be better, but because there's no upper limit to that. But man, just that's the whole goal is to be able to do this. Like to be able to play, to be able to make cool stuff. And yeah, I mean, I guess if what you set out to do is be famous and you don't get famous, like, I mean, I guess you failed. If that's what you set out to do, then you failed. If you don't do it. But like, I don't know. I don't give a shit. Like none of my favorite music is from famous people. So I don't none of that matters to me. Like you think, fuck off if you don't think Ty Tabor is like the greatest guitar player in the world. Like, I don't give a shit what some Grammy committee, like what anybody else has to say. Like people are going to sit here and talk about the musical tenets of Drake over the top of Ty Tabor. Get out of my fucking face. I don't care. I don't care about your fame. I don't care about any of that. Like Rod Morgenstein is like God to me. I don't I don't care. Like Jojo Mayer tells the truth when he plays the drums, and his type of music isn't popular right now in this era. So he's not going to be what we call famous or wealthy from it. But goddamn it, that dude tells the truth when he plays this instrument. So like, that's all I care about is like, play, man, tell the truth, like connect with the fringe outer side of art out there, go out in the darkness and the bleeding edge and bring us back something good. And like, like, listen, Taylor Swift will make the next hit. She totally will. And I got no qualms with that. But I really like looking in the deep for stuff, man. I like Dream Theater's not famous like Tay, but they're pretty fucking famous, though. You know, they're a lot more famous than a lot of, you know, bands that you and I listen to and enjoy. I mean, what the hell does even fame mean anymore? Like, yeah, The Neighborhood has 30 million people a month listen to them on Spotify, but Incubus has like, I don't know, 6 or 7. And I love Incubus way more than The Neighborhood. Like, we're just talking about era and like music popularity in a given era.
Like, I think it's
and we just, I don't have any control over like what's inside of me.
I think fame used to be synonymous with well known. And I guess it kind of is, but whenever there's so many people that are so well known and so well networked, and everybody's kind of famous in their own way, I think the thing that satisfies the ego now in the way that previous iterations of fame would have is having an elevated place in the zeitgeist, right?
Yeah, sure.
And the question is like, then or now, what's the value in chasing that? And I think if we're really, really being honest, it is empty, but there are attractive things about it. And the thing that comes to mind for me is like, the communal experience of saying, okay, here's this thing that I have feel and felt. I'm going to give form to it through a song, and then give form to that song through performance. And then there are tens of thousands of people who are all going to sit out there at the same time and say, yeah, man, me too. Mm-hmm. And then we get to have this communion of shared experience through performance. That's right. Like the subliminal thing that brings people together in a way that nothing else does. And for a person to be able to do that, I think is video. Like, okay. You lost my video, your video.
You went totally black, and you also went to just
so I think getting to do that is like
jump cut.
I don't know how people are going to want to listen to this, but what I was saying, like taking a feeling, giving form to it through the structure of a song, and then giving form to that through a performance, and then tens of thousands of people saying, yeah, me too. And then sharing that sort of communal experience in a moment through concert is, I think, one of the most special things that can happen to people.
I agree.
And that's really the only element of famous musician that I have envy for. And I don't even know if I would call it envy. I don't know if it's envy. It's just like, man, I want to do that.
Yeah. I understand. But I hear that.
I think if it's ego, it's just like you want people to know you. Like, what good is that really? It's not.
Yeah. Well, you know, what you want to do is be a part of that feeling and a part of that sensation. But it is a different place when you are the channel through which that sensation flows. Like, you are one of the tools that musical sensation is using. It's like you're tapping into it with your body, and then everybody else kind of syncs up to it. I think it's a special place. It's a place of honor. People have their jobs to do, and I like being a part of that. I like being a part of that feeling when a whole bunch of people are lining up together and doing that. And I want to live that a lot of times. I think it'll be great to do it, and you hope that your music can do that, and whatever winds up channeling through you feels a way to somebody that lets them connect to you through that. And that's you just have to tell the truth and hope for that, because if you tell a lie in your creation, then you're having somebody vibe to a lie. You're just having somebody vibe to a lie. And even still, it's like you're putting on some shit. They're not vibing with you at all. They're vibing with your lie. So
pirate victory.
Yeah, it's just, so who cares? You don't want somebody vibing with something that wasn't true to you to be like a fan of yours or anything like that. So you just got to play, and you got to tell the truth. And anybody that likes what you're putting down, man, then they'll come along, I feel like. So, but that's it. You have to be honest with your art form, with your art, your deliberate art, and just release it and be proud of it, and do the best you can with it. Make it as beautiful as you can, and do it over and over again. That's I think that's what we try to do as people. That's you've always treated me in that way. Like we hang out, we are good to each other, and I keep coming back. So, like, same for you. I'm kind of a fan, brother. So I don't know. If I establish any relationships through my art, I hope they're very much like our relationship. Like, I hope people want to come along and want to listen and want to like me as a person. That'd be cool. But that's all I can do is put my note out there. Like, and if I get to be the note C, I really hope that I find like a D and an E flat and a G and a B flat, because that would be like really dope. And that's the people I want in my room. I want to be able to make C minor 7 9 11. Like, those are the people I want. I want to make that sound. That's cool. And like, you have to be your own note before you can make chords worth of shit. So like, be a note. That means you have to sacrifice every other note. Whatever, but you gotta be a note if you want to, and then you'll make music wherever you go. But I don't think. You can change, man. You can be a note. You can be a C. You can be an F. You can be a fucking A flat. You can move it around in life. But there's a time to be a note. There's a time to be a thing. And if you take it seriously and you're artistic enough with it, then that's a really good way to be in a given time.
I just want everybody to know that neither of us have done any drugs today.
Yeah, that's funny, right?
Yeah.
I should do some drugs.
This is just what happens.
I need to do some drugs, bro.
You would listen to this and you would think, these guys, how much smart have these guys poked today? And the answer is none. But anyway.
Some drugs. We could go so hard. We can go even harder. We could. We need to do this. We need to smoke a lot of marijuana and do a podcast. Oh my god, that would be so
there
fucking.
There are people who already do that.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think? Do you think we'd probably meet some aliens? We would go full UFO for 3-4 hours.
I think it would be exactly the same.
God. Yeah, it might be. It might be.
Dude.
You,
like we could do this for 18 hours and not sleep. And we're just doing it with the cameras now. So I think at some point we have to say, like, for the sake of like mercy to the 4 people who consume all this, like
7
until next time.
there's at least 7 people going to watch this thing,
How much of this do you think Gladys is going to get?
15 minutes. She's going to be like... She's like, dude, I'll lay in the bed with you. Get out of here.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Well, hey, by the time this comes out, Press Play will be out. It drops on Monday. So check that out. I suppose it'll be out at midnight on Monday. But yeah, Press Play finally will be on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon and all those places. So, and also YouTube and TikTok. The full video will be on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and all those places. But
what's the video concept on that one?
Oh, you haven't seen that? Oh, I'm a whole cartoon, dude. I'm a whole cartoon.
With
it's
you
the
in
coolest.
Studio?
No.
I lost you.
No. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Am I back yet? Okay, cool. So no, Press Play. I'm sitting there, and there's like an AI thing over me, so I'm like a pencil drawing, and every single word. You remember that Aha video like years ago where they were like the dude was a pencil like drawing. Take on Me. Wasn't that Aha?
I don't remember the video.
Okay, well, regardless, this video kind of has a little nod to that. I love that video where I'm like a pencil drawing, and all of the words in the song, it's just it's an alliterative song. So, it's like passion, prerogative, predatory, pilgrimage, pioneering, plentiful, positive, paradigms, particular parameters. Like there's so many P words. So all of the words pop on screen with a different characteristic. They're each like a comic book word that has been custom drawn, and they all present. So it's kind of like a really unique lyric video that helps you digest everything that's being said. It's a really cool video. Austin did all of the artwork. No, he didn't. I'm sorry. Austin did a large majority of the artwork. He did all of the coloring on the artwork. Braden, my cousin, Braden Clemens, helped do a lot of the words. So he did like a lot of comic book drawing to bring a character to every single one of these words. And I think it's cool. I think it tells a cool little story. I've been working on that song for a decade, so I'm glad it's finally like out and over, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
but I had a lot of fun.
Like among the songs on the record, I'm glad you redid that one. I think that one really turned out. And I think I remember you talking about that video when you were first working on it. I need to do a lyric video for Don't Know Why. I've needed to do a lyric video for Don't Know Why for like a year. I feel terrible about it.
Man, just sit there and do it. Be all right. What do you want to do for it? Do you know? You just want to do lyrics?
No. Honestly, no. I think I'm going to have to, but honestly, I don't.
Dude, check out Press Play. Check out Press Play. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send it to you now or whatever. But like you can, I'm sure you'll get the full resolution and everything. But it's just a lot of the words come fast, so a lot of the comic comes fast. So like I'm sure you'll miss a few as they pass by you, but it makes you want to watch it again. It's and the song itself for the video is shortened. So if you want to hear the full track, got to go to Spotify, listen to the full track. So the video edit is different than the track, full track anyway. But there's just like some more musical elements to the song that go beyond the lyrics. But take a look at that, how we did that lyric video and that style, and then maybe that'll help jog some stuff in your head, because we went back and forth on that for 1,000 years. CeeLo, when CeeLo put on his song "Fuck You," remember that shit? You know, I've been driving around with a girl I love, and I'm like that guy. So that when that video came out, it was a lyric video first, and it was super cool the way it danced with the words and everything. But that was like too simple of a concept for this song. It didn't connect like properly. The words didn't have enough character in and of themselves. Like it's since every word begins with a P, you need some definition assistance to kind of get the context of the story. So when the words became characters themselves, it really kind of helped put some artistic pieces together. It's a really cool package, so I think you'll like it. And Austin's just freaking awesome at stuff, and Braden's art's pretty dope. So
that's cool, man. I can tell you there are a lot of times in my life where I've had to see a visual representation of what music was going for to understand it. But then once I had that impression, I appreciated the music a lot more.
I'm excited for you to see it.
So that's cool.
But yeah, man, that's what's coming up next week. Or I guess once this podcast is out, hey, it's out. Go listen to it. But man, like, we got, let's see, that'll be 4. I got 5 more songs coming after this one. So I guess I'll probably release another one in like a month from now, maybe 2. We'll see how this one gains some traction and if people are digging on it. People seem to like Joy pretty good, which is cool. So, man, I'm going to keep doing like drum stuff on Insta, and TikTok. That seems to be doing okay. And it's fun. Holy crap. I cannot wait next week along with this stuff coming out. Like there's a sweet new drum thing I've been working on. There's this guy playing bass who put it out as just himself. And I am totally playing drums to this guy's bass line. Like I'm excited. So get ready for that coming up this week too. I'm going to release a legit original, and then I'm going to freaking drum to this dope ass bass line. So I've had a lot of fun doing that lately, man. If you ever want to do like some weird duet thing, just let me know. I'll do one in 30 minutes. Like, they're fun. They're fun to do. So I think I like that. I like just being able to play with musicians I know and don't have any idea who they are, but I just like their stuff. And that's like the one cool thing about social media that I'm enjoying right now is like I've been finding cool new music. I did the Georgian Girls Georgian folklore tune, and it seemed to be getting good response from that. And I have learned a lot about Georgian music over the past week because I put that out and people started commenting and then like sending me DMs about the choirs that they're in and how
that's cool.
There's a ton of rich Georgian music history and I've never heard any of this stuff. So I'm like diving into giant Georgian choirs, and it's beautiful, dude. This is phenomenal music stuff. I mean, you and me are both trained musicians. I've never heard anything. I've never heard this stuff. This really kind of impressive compositionally, what they're doing with human voice and Georgian choir. And so those harmonies that those girls are singing are phenomenal. It's insane when there's like 25 people doing it or 60. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep like finding people to just kind of, find and groove with and see if I can learn a little bit more about world music while I do it. And I'll put a bunch of different grooves to it and stuff. That's fun. So, I'm going to do some more of that. I'm going to do that for a while, I think. That's fun. Damn, that's fun. So we'll see. We'll see how that stuff turns out.
It's cool on a lot of levels because it's like, you have this interaction with someone and with a thing that you never would have been exposed to, but then you've also tapped into that community, and then a whole other world opens up for you, like entirely. What you're describing, which is like, it's kind of miraculous. That's never been a thing before,
right? Yeah, it really hasn't. And so, I think we got to take advantage of that, and I'm comfortable having any conversation in the world about the dangers of social media and just technological creep, though. You really don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of cool stuff that we can do. And the fact that we all have like DAWs now means like if you do upload something as a solo artist and it's just you on your singular instrument and you're the like baddest ass player there is, and you just release it and just put it out up on the internet, like we'll find a way to mix it and make it sound good, and it'll be fine. Like, I know that I could just put drums up and put it out, and you could take it and add guitar to it and mix it well and put it back out, and it would be fine. Like, that can happen. That can happen now. And so I think it's pretty cool that people are willing to take that step and be like, hey, here's some bare bones stuff. Like, go do it.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of good creations can come of that. I would like to contribute to that. So I'm gonna probably have that as a part of our release schedule for the next foreseeable future. I'll just keep drumming and putting stuff out.
Cool, man. All right. Well, I'm gonna pass out, I think.
Okay. So. Let's go sleepy. Yeah, I'm gonna go home and say hello to my wife and go to sleep and get up and go to work tomorrow. So be good.
I will say, man, this would have been a cool. I think. This had a different feel to it. I think it would have been a cool live stream.
I'll live stream.
Just kind of be here and hang, and then let people come hang for this kind of conversation.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
More so than the one we did before this, where there wasn't the time constraint. You can just kind of go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should try that.
I'm down. Hey, let us know. Say some shit in the comments. Come live stream with us. That'd be cool.
Also, if you're listening to this on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, some platform like that, you can check out fiveforksview.substack.com, and that is going to be a platform that hosts written articles along with the podcast, publishes all the above, and you'll actually get an email anytime any of that comes out. And then we'll also have notes threads and chats threads to actually have conversations around some of this stuff. So, I was having a conversation with Rachel the other day, and she's like, well, you just posted your Substack to Facebook. You haven't made a podcast in like 5 weeks. Like, people think you're just jumping around. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, true. That I'm sure there is that perception. But the thing that I like about Substack is it's not reliant on an algorithm.
Yeah, that's really kind of cool.
So there's no like thing that the content has to fit into to have to feed. It's all relationship based. Yeah. The people who subscribe just have a relationship with you. End of story. You put something out, they're notified instantly, and if they want to come consume it, they can whenever they want. Yeah. And dude, I will tell you, just the podcasts and posts that I put up, they have like a 75% open rate already.
Wow.
But it's not even about that. It's like it's all kind of doing different versions of the same dance. So like when you and I have a conversation like what we've had today, I throw out this cognitive sort of contribution, you throw another one out, and there's this constructivism that happens, and there's some other thing that's formed in the interplay of that. But it's a little more chaotic. The thing that I like about writing is it takes some of these looser, more abstract things and connects those dots in a more organized way so that you can sort of integrate a certain set of thoughts rather than continually sort of contending with them. And then that can serve as a foundation that you can go and then build and stack something else on top of. Right. And so to me, Substack is a place that hosts actual podcast episodes, but also is this long form written word platform is great because I think to the extent that we're kind of on this journey together, those things feed into each other and build on each other and are also conducive to, for me, consistent content creation, because it's like there are times when I can't get a podcast guest, and there are times when I don't have time to write, and it's like being able to intersperse those things sort of fills the vacuum so that creative process is still happening. It just may look different from week to week.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my TED Talk. Check out fiveforksview.substack.com.
Thank you for coming. No, man, just a quick note on what you're saying, actually. I'm trying to do cool stuff. I want to release interesting things, and stuff that makes you want to listen to music and enjoy your life, and laugh from time to time and be serious from time to time, and just kind of welcome you into a place in my life. And Instagram is not exactly the same as TikTok. TikTok's not like YouTube, and Rumble sucks. And like, good God, dude, I hope you guys get that situated over there, because that is the most miserable time I have on any app at all. So please, for God's sake, if you want to have a platform, just pull some of the propaganda off the front page. But all of the other just social platforms, I think, you don't want to post the same thing everywhere. You can be your different elements of yourself in different places. Twitter's not the same for me as what Instagram is. So, I like the fact that you put out a podcast. I like the fact that you put out a Substack. I hope you like the fact that I'm giving somebody advice on how to tune a tom-tom, and then I'm talking about the Ukrainians and
Absolutely.
Russians killing each other. But the thing is, like, some people might love to come and listen to my music, but absolutely like get bored to tears by music history on audio archaeology. That's fine. That's totally fine. But if you like both of those things, I'll see you, you go over to Spotify, or I'll see you on Thursday for audio archaeology. But a lot of people just want to tune in and laugh at memes and shit. And that's cool. I like laughing at memes. And so if they want to watch that, like, that's cool. Watch that. And they'll never listen to my music. So, man, I'm sure you'll find people that just read you and don't watch you. I'm sure you'll find people that watch you and don't read you. But I think it's totally fine to offer many mediums to consume your content.
100%. Not just mediums, but subjects and intertextuality.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this. Like Joe Rogan has by far the top podcast in the world. He has the largest media footprint of any single individual ever. And what percentage of his audience do you think are dedicated UFC fans? I think it's probably not that high.
Yeah, probably not.
That's part of where his community comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw this video, which is Gary Vee, the other day, and I think this is a great place to end. Tell me if you can hear this.
Not yet.
You can't hear it?
No.
Okay. Anyway, the idea, like, so it's this kid who's having a conversation with Gary in a car, and he's like, I'm into AI, I'm into video editing, I'm a football player, and it's like, how do I find a niche? And Gary's like,
you're it.
You're the niche, bro. You, the human being, is the niche.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't listen to anybody who tells you you need to pick if that's not what you are, you don't need to pick a thing just to have followers. That's not why we're doing this. It also, that's not it. You're the niche.
I agree with that. So I think probably for the first time ever, we can just develop a community around a human personality and all of its facets, and then monetize
better anyway,
it.
man. It's a bunch of relationships. It's what we all want anyway.
I think so. That was a good note to end
I love you. You're the niche.
You back.
Good night.
Good night, Thad. Go eat something and go sleep.
Bye. Okay.